After the red moon shone upon the city, a disease later named mind pollution began spreading rapidly. Under the protection of the Great Walls, humans continued their lives, but pollution began to corrupt everyone's hearts. As Luke walks through the crowd, he thought that within this estranged city, he still has his family. The red moon looms over the city as he returns to his old apartment building after a long day. Meanwhile, cooking sounds echo inside as someone prepares dinner. On the phone, Mama apologizes to their neighbor, saying what happened today was her fault and asking her not to be angry. May, Luke's younger sister, wonders why he still hasn't come home. Mama continues the call, insulted that her neighbor called her ugly. She asks for an apology as Luke steps outside the apartment door. His eyes narrow as he unlocks the door. He announces that he is back as he steps inside. May's face lights up as she happily greets him even more when he showed the bear she wanted. As she hugs the bear, Mama finished the call and asks him to play with his sister while she goes downstairs briefly. He asks if something urgent happened and reminds her they agreed to eat together. She explains it's just a misunderstanding with their neighbor and that she will be right back as she heads out. Luke responds that they will eat as soon as she returns, and she agreed. May sits on the bed watching television as Luke narrates that he has a weird family. While waiting for their mother, someone grips a bottle tightly and slams it on the table. Baba suddenly shouts, hurling insults and ordering anyone who entered his kitchen to get out. He stands towering at the table, chains wrapped around his body as his anger fills the room. Meanwhile, police sirens echo outside as red lights flash against the building. Baba rants that everyone is arguing and that they cannot even have a quiet dinner. He shouts outside the window, yelling at the police and neighbors with uncontrollable rage. May grabs her brother and tells him that she is scared. He tries to reassure her, saying it's okay and that their father isn't himself. He then senses their mother's arrival and sees that she is covered with blood, as she points out that Baba is yelling again. As he continues to observe, Mama points out that Baba is scaring the kids. The father shouts that everyone deserves death and curses the children. Mama smiles calmly and says that in his eyes everyone deserves to die, except himself. He towers over her as she continues to criticize him and compares him to a cockroach in the sewers. She states that even if everyone else dies, he still will not. This provoked the father and suddenly swings his arm and strikes Mama violently, shouting at her. Mama lets out a soft laugh and calls him an incompetent fool. Baba roars and he explodes in anger, shouting that she dares call him useless. His body bulges in anger and declares that he is going to slaughter her. A brutal impact then follows. In one corner of the room, May hugs her bear tightly as if being scared, but suddenly murmurs that this is fun. She then laughs while repeating that this very fun. She rolls across the floor, laughing uncontrollably. Her body twists upside down, looking like a mad girl. The house is being trashed, as Luke declares that this is his family, and that they are normal and sweet. Even though they sometimes argue, he's thankful to have a complete family in a world polluted by the red moon. Meanwhile, a woman is observing him from a distance. She expressed problem that he is not alone inside the house, and her assistant confirms that Psyche Mutation Subject 13 has shown their mind ability. A mysterious man asks whether he has the potential to be recruited, and what his general mind ability looks like. The assessment notes uncertainty, saying he seems normal. He works as a port worker, and only occasionally shows confusion. The man concludes that Luke has great potential and will be easy to guide. The woman then confirms that the Dream Master has entered his dreams. However, the Dream Master never came out. The city's normal hustle and bustle starts. In Luke's office, co-workers whisper that he keeps helping others and may end up exhausted or even fired, while others mock his kindness. The new worker, John, apologizes for being so clumsy, and Luke offers help. A staff member calls Luke over, saying the director wants to speak with him. Luke responds politely and goes to the director's office. The director asks Luke to deliver a document to the corner cafe on Hong Road and stresses there should be no delay. He takes the envelope, wondering why the task was not given to finance or an intern group. He then notices the woman sitting nearby. She sits casually on the sofa with a composed posture, and he freezes when he realizes she has noticed him staring. He then leaves in embarrassment. As the door closes behind him, the director reports to her that he has done what she ordered. However, to his dismay, she states that the project he wanted will not be given to him. As he protests, she stares at him, tells him to forget ever calling Luke there or giving him any task. Her red eyes glow as the atmosphere turns oppressive. Slowly, the director falls under her power. She exits the office, adjusting her glasses as she walks away. Inside a crowded train, a pregnant woman notices there are too many people and no seats left. Luke sees her and offers a seat to the grateful woman. The train speeds through the tunnel as the broadcast repeats the route information. Suddenly, May appears hanging upside down from the ceiling, clutching her teddy bear. She excitedly calls out to her brother. Luke panics internally, wondering why May followed him. She laughs and says swinging on the bar is fun. The handrails creak as the train rattles forward. Passengers look around in confusion as the train begins to shake violently. May asks Luke if he will not play with her and says it is really fun. Luke lowers his voice, telling her it's impossible to play outside. May pouts and says he is no fun. She leans close, warning him to be careful because the place he is going to feel strange. She then mischievously pinched a sleeping man who suddenly shouts, demanding to know who touched him. Later, Luke grips the envelope tightly and steps toward the place, commenting that it is very close to the wall. He finally reached the cafe and feels an unexplained sense of unease. A surveillance scope locks onto him as an investigation group assembles on a nearby rooftop and declares readiness. Chen reviews a top-secret file and states the target codename is Coffee Corner, with the mission to test Subject 13's abilities and potential to become a Psyche Master. The report states that those who enter the corner cafe die within 3 to 5 days, having developed severe depressed moods. She asks if the support team is ready as an agent confirms they are fully prepared, and that support member, Dolly, is ready as well, who is just waiting by the window elsewhere. A bell above the cafe entrance rings as Luke enters. He notes that it looks empty outside despite being lively within. He approaches the counter and says he was told to deliver a document. The waiter thanks him and says the coffee is on the house. Shy, Luke smiles and replies that it is unnecessary. However, the waiter insists and places the coffee in front of him. He remarks that it smells amazing and lifts the cup as he thinks he should just drink it and leave. A sudden sense of unease flashes across his face, and when he looks up, a dark energy surges behind the waiter. Luke's eyes widen in shock as he sees a grotesque, tentacled creature emerges, its body twisting. A red eye dropped in his cup and the eye opens. He freezes in horror, blurting out a curse as he stares into the cup. The eye is staring directly at him, and he pauses in horror. The waiter questions why he is not drinking, and urges him to try the coffee. Luke keeps his composure, thinking he cannot let the man know he can see everything. He politely refuses the drink and tries to walk out the coffee shop calmly. He notices something is wrong and looks back and notices people looking at him. With this, he rushes past the cafe entrance at full speed. Surveillance footage captures him running away, and observers react in shock that he is leaving. Inside the control room, the team debates how a level 1 psychic corruption zone could produce such extreme mutation. They ask Chen what the next step should be as the situation slips out of their plans. She orders the team to keep examining the situation and immediately come up with a fourth plan. The scene shifts to a subway station. Luke finally sits down and wonders why the people all felt so strange, and remembers his sister's warning earlier. He reflects that ever since the red moon appeared, even the most unstable people still seem human. He decides to ask his family about it later when he notices more people suddenly appearing around him. He recognizes that the people from the cafe have followed him here. The waiter reappears behind the crowd, calmly holding his coffee earlier. The man smiles eerily and says the drink is not finished yet. Luke recoils as more people close in from behind, blocking his retreat. He freezes when he realizes all the exits are blocked. The waiter warns him that the coffee will get cold if he does not drink it. Luke admits he does not have any money to pay. The waiter replies that he will pay for him, and the red eye suddenly launches itself out of the cup toward Luke. He staggers back, questioning how something like this can have its own will. He rushes past the crowd in an attempt to escape. However, they are able to grab him and prevent him from leaving. He continues to struggle and screams at the crowd to stop coming at him. Meanwhile, from a control room, Chen and her team watch the chaos unfold. Chen suspects Luke may be unable to control his ability yet, and orders support to stop the examination. With this, Dolly is now on the move, opening her parasol. Just then, the man on the monitor points at the screen. Luke grimaces in pain as the monitor spikes, with the screen warning of violent fluctuations. As he struggles, May appears upside down, reminding him that she warned him and saying he still did not listen. She promised to help if he'll buy her toys. Luke shouts that he has no money, and the eyeball-like monsters rush toward him. May dives and reaches out toward him, extending her hand through the glowing energy. Their hands clasp tightly, and his eyes turn red behind his glasses. May smiles widely from behind him and declares that the deal is agreed. Luke is now transformed while May clings to his back, grinning as she urges him to show what he's got. He surges forward and attacks the enemies. May says it's fun, and they continue to annihilate everyone. From the control room, they observe that he activates the ability of movement control, Spider Class. Observers note that despite being bound and dragged by monsters, Luke keeps breaking free through abnormal flexibility. They question whether this level of output is even possible for a Spider Class user, and that almost reaching that of Gecko. Suddenly, alarms blare as the monitor spikes wildly. Below, the waiter declares that he will finish Luke and releases his monster. Its tentacle tries to reach him, but he leaps with his sister, narrowly avoiding the crushing blows. Tentacles whip upward as they race down the stairwell. Luke charges up the stairs while the monster behind him shouts for him to stop running. Surveillance footage shows him reaching the upper level, confirming his escape. Chen exhales in relief, believing it is finally over. She immediately orders the team to wrap things up, but operator tells them to watch the monitor. Luke plants his foot against the wall mid-run, and he kicks off hard, reversing direction in midair. Observers shout in confusion, asking what he's doing. Chen watches closely as someone suggests he's provoking the monster. An analyst explains that Spider-class users already possess terrifying speed and strength, but he is beyond their expectation. The man states firmly that Subject 13 is truly something else, as Chen continued to watch closely. As they near the exit, Luke turns back and asks his sister what she's doing. May smiles and asks what he wants to do next. Luke replies that they should run when monsters are involved. She asks why her brother looks so scared, saying the one who should be frightened is the waiter. The man steps forward and bursts into manic laughter, surrounded by writhing tentacles. The tentacles slam violently into the walls, shaking the structure as they surge upward. Luke hesitates and suggests they should just run, while May refuses with a smile. She grabs his and declares she's going to have fun, as they lunge toward the monster. In the monitor room, the operator reports that a level 1 psychic monster has appeared. Chen contemplates that Spider-class mutants normally stand no chance against psychic monsters without special weapons. However, he charged straight at the monster without hesitation. Below, the tentacles slam in from multiple directions as the siblings slip between them. They were able to close in the distance with the waiter and tore his arm. Luke used it to destroy the camera. The surveillance feed suddenly distorts as the signal breaks apart. Chen is alarmed as she realizes this, and urgently orders the team to act at once. Luke's eyes glowed red, asking their enemy if it's fun to have a broken arm. Ahead of them, massive red monsters regroup, opening their jaws wide. Luke stands in the corridor as tentacles surge in from all sides, closing the distance. Luke drives forward through the narrowing gap as tentacles close in around them. A massive tentacled mouth opens wide, blocking their path. May presses close to Luke, as they declare that it is still not enough. Luke skims across a tentacle at high speed while May holds tightly. He lands hard and immediately launches forward again as tentacles snap at his back. Severed tentacles litter the floor as its parts spread across the ground. More tentacles rise and coil, reforming in pursuit. Fired up, Luke mocks the monster for wanting to run. He then charges straight ahead while gripping a weapon. He leaps and raises his weapon, shouting for it to go to hell. He crashes directly into a tentacle, smashing it apart. The monster's body spreads across the floor, completely immobile. Luke says he has not played enough yet. Just then, the tentacles suddenly move as they strike at once. The tentacles cling on the people on the subway. The siblings stand calmly as the possessed civilians flee around them. They caught one and twist its head. As the lunge forward, May shouts that they should not even think about escaping. The corridor is filled with fallen bodies as the aftermath settles. Luke states calmly that not even one of them can fight. He hears a faint sound and turns his head sharply. Not far enough, an elderly man slowly rises from behind shattered glass. The man looks scared and lets out a weak sound. The siblings stare silently at him. Still possessed, Luke smirks and remarks that there seems to be one more. He leaps forward with intention of hurting the old man. Just then, he shouts enough as his hand nears the trembling man. Freed, he grabs his sister and tells him to stop fooling around. She tells him to let go, but he insists that she needs to restrain herself. The people earlier were not ordinary civilians, but the guard is a normal person. With worried face, she apologizes and says she was only trying to protect him. He tells her that she can run, but she did not need to. She reassures him that she will be careful next time and grabs her toy. Meanwhile, a train screeches into the station as bodies lie scattered nearby. Dolly floats down lightly as Chen arrives on a motorcycle. Outside, the city remains calm, but authorities gather outside the subway. From a rooftop, Luke and May sit side by side, overlooking the situation. May asks her brother how he plans to thank her. Luke reacts defensively, snapping that if he hadn't scolded her earlier, but stops mid-sentence. After a pause, he finally mutters a quiet thank you. May immediately brightens, declaring that he should buy her toys as thanks. Luke protests, asking if she doesn't already have enough toys. She hugs her teddy bear and says she wants something that shrieks. Luke suggests a rubber chicken, showing it off as the perfect choice. May stares annoyed, clearly unimpressed. She turns away in a huff, complaining that her brother always interrupts and never plays with her anymore. As she walks ahead, she reminds him to be more careful since someone is watching him. Luke confronts his sister, asking who is targeting him, but May refuses to answer. She bids him goodbye and floats away from the rooftop. Luke watches in silence as she descends, realizing he can only depend on himself. Nervous, he leaps off the building. Mid-fall, he twists his body and adjusts his trajectory, landing safely. He decides to avoid crowded areas below and keeps moving away from prying eyes. Though exhausted, he forces himself to keep moving. As he notes everything is safe, Chen calls out his name from behind, startling him. She casually offers to treat him to coffee. Luke freezes, stunned that a woman that beautiful has asked him out so directly. He wonders if she might be one of the subway securities but decides to accept her offer, but not coffee. Later, they drink wine in bar as she reveals she works for a department that handles abnormalities and pollution incidents. She explains that the authorities reorganize cities after the Red Moon incident, and executions are carried out to protect everyone. Resistance forces and maintenance operations are dealt by their people. For now, their priority is managing pollution within the walls and satellite town. Luke questions whether these abnormalities are real or exaggerated. Chen invites him to look at official records from the coffee shop incident. Luke opens a classified file detailing a level 1 psychic pollutant. Chen lights a cigarette as she explains that pollution spreads like a pandemic, not normal contamination. Those exposed may seem normal at first, but changes occur internally. Victims can lose sanity, become violent, or mutate completely. Worst of all, there is no warning before a full outbreak occurs, since they live among normal people, unlike those outside the walls. Once everyone in the surrounding area becomes infected, it could only result in death. Luke reacts in shock, asking if everyone must die even after killing the monster. Chen clarifies that killing the source does not cure the infected. She adds that the psychic monster is only the origin of the pollution, and anyone exposed remains contaminated even after its death. If even one infected person escapes, another pollutant can be born. Chen warns that more people will be polluted over time. Luke asks why infected individuals aren't leaving an infected outside to assist in reincarnation. She replies that psychic monsters lack brilliance and act on instinct. They can grow their own lives, but it's too late by then. Chen tells Luke that he is not about to be polluted but has already been polluted. She opens a file and tells him to look closely at the data. Luke reads the evaluation, including his photo, address, age, and spider class classification. Chen explains that since the Red Moon incident, the mind strength of some people has been increasing. She adds that stronger mind strength allows better control of the body, and confirms he is a mutant. She mentions that there is a member in their organization with the code name Gecko. He has extreme body control ability, granting him unimaginable strength. He can dodge bullets, handle various firearms, leap across gaps, and crawl along walls as if gravity does not exist. She states that Luke possesses similar abilities. With this, he can control his body, similar to a spider. Luke looks down at the file again, silently absorbing the information. Chen says that with his skills, he is well suited to be a purifier. A bus announcement informs passengers that they have arrived at the east station of Satellite Town and should prepare to get off. Luke sits on the bus holding money and thinks about how Chen suddenly gave him that big amount. He reflects that whatever the reason, he needs the money. As the bus comes to a halt, he steps off and walks forward among other passengers. He then arrives at a school entrance, and the guard tells him that she is teaching inside. As he walks inside, he hears someone singing a children's song. He looks inside and comments that she is being childish. The woman turns and, asking who is there, seeing no one, she continues singing for the kids. Meanwhile, Luke hides and watches quietly, thinking that such happiness should not be disturbed. He decides instead to put the money inside the mailbox. He then picks flowers from the garden and put them on top of the mailbox. The guard remarks that it would be easier to tell her directly, complaining that he has plucked almost all of the flowers. Luke apologized to the old man, promising that he will treat him to beer on the weekend. The guard wants to treat him instead, and he thanks him for the kind offer. As he walks away, he feels great to be rich, and realizes that he still really needs money. He then flashbacks to his conversation with Chen. She explained that they need people like Luke to deal with pollution, and gave him 10,000 yuan. He reacted in shock at the amount, shouting about it being too much. She stated that he deserves it, and that normal pay for such work is around 30,000 yuan. She added that as long as he uses his abilities well, there would be no shortage of money in the future. Luke reacted with excitement, thinking about the insane amount of money he would earn. As she observed his love for money, he admitted that he actually did not have any ability, and that his power is borrowed from his younger sister, and that his family had power as well. She was surprised to hear this, but heard from her earphone that she must carry out the final assessment on Luke. She was reminded not to forget that the dream creator died a bizarre death. Just entering Luke's dream for assessment caused her death, which had never been a case like that before. They even added that Luke's hazard level is extremely high, and that schizophrenia has been revealed. She hesitated to eliminate the boy, and told him that based on her intel, he has been living alone since the Moon Orphanage was destroyed, and that his family was all his imagination. Luke stated that he knew this, and he realized they cannot be seen by others. However, he could experience them like they were real, and they protect him when he is in danger. Someone from the other line informed Chen that they were ready and told her to make the final decision. She turned to him and asked if his family members would not affect him as they like. He assured her that his family were all nice people. Mei was an obedient girl who loved toys. His father was a humble man who loves cooking and his mother is gentle and loved harmony. He insisted that they would never be able to control his body. She felt that he was far too normal and was even seriously describing people who supposedly don't exist. As Luke continues his walk, he dismisses everything as long as he can keep earning money. Just then, Chen arrives and tells him to get in the car. She informs him that he is now an entry member of the operation unit, earning 5,000 yuan monthly. She hands him the contract and tells him to sign if he agrees to join. He reads the document in silence, deciding that he is being given a great deal. He then asks what exactly his future work will involve. She informs him that he will be investigating and cleaning special pollutants. She warns him to prepare himself, explaining that the problems they face are always extremely dangerous and that there is always a risk of dying. She adds that after the Red Moon incident, every resident of Green Bay must be protected and monitored, including him. Chen explains that after the Red Moon incident, normal people became precious and must be protected, including him. Convinced, Luke signed the paper and Chen asks what made him agree so readily. He recalls the chaos after the Red Moon incident and reflects that, if people keep fighting among themselves, the world may never recover. He admits he doesn't know what life was like before, but wants to see a better world. Chen pauses, then calmly accepts his answer. She hands him a locked case, revealing a firearm, cash, and emergency supplies. Luke reacts in shock at the sight of the firearm. She explains that the phone inside is for emergencies, and that the only saved number on the phone is hers. Luke internally wonders why this feels like being taken care of by a sugar mommy. In his imagination, she asserts dominance, saying he belongs to her now. She snaps him out of his fantasy, and awkwardly says he is listening, clearly flustered. Chen evaluates him calmly, and decides he poses a low threat. She also reminds him that if there is an emergency, he should not use his ability right away. He should report first to the police station, contact her, or third, use the firearm. Luke falls silent, processing everything. On his way home, he notes that despite being on probation, the salary is still extremely high. He calculates his monthly income, realizing he earns a base salary plus company allowance. He then thinks about saving money to relocate the elementary school away from dangerous zones. It would be great to buy a house large enough for everyone, and help with more missions to achieve that. Just then, Mei appears, telling him that their parents are waiting at home. She then asks him what he will give her in return if she helps him earn more money. He suggests a rubber chicken, a drumming monkey, and even a dancing donkey. However, she isn't impressed and says goodbye. Luke panics and begs her to stay, promising to buy her any toy she wants. She points and says she wants a fun type of toy. Luke turns in confusion, seeing a drunk man nearby. As she lands, Mei states she likes toys that can move and talk. She smiles unnervingly and explains that complete toys can be torn apart and sewn back together. If he gives him that kind of toy, she'll grant any of his requests. Luke hesitates and kneels before her, gently explaining that harming others is illegal. With pained expression, she asks why others are allowed to harm her. She adds that if he doesn't want her to hurt others, then he should be her toy. She embraces him tightly and starts to rip him apart, grinning widely as her monstrous nature fully reveals itself. A blood-red moon looms over the city as Luke kneels, holding Mei tightly in his arms. A long, jagged scar is revealed across Luke's back as his sister presses against him. She asks softly if his scar still hurts. Luke remains silent. Crying, she calls him a fool. When others try to harm her, only him stand in front to protect her. He sighs, telling her that he is different from before. Forcing a smile, he says he has found a new job and now has money. He can buy her a different toy, and she surprisingly accepts with excitement. The scene shifts to a lively street filled with people and warm lights. The siblings happily walk together, hand in hand. They stop in front of a toy shop filled with stuffed animals. Luke buys several toys as passers-by whisper suspiciously about his appearance and behavior. The siblings mock them and continue to laugh with each other, unbothered with the judgments around them. Under the red moon, Mei sits among a pile of toys. She begins to tear each apart, marveling at how fun it is that she has so many toys. Luke stands nearby, watching her quietly with unreadable face. She turns to him, thanking him for her toys. He suddenly asks if she can borrow his abilities. She calls him foolish, telling him that he can forcibly lend his powers to her. Luke acknowledges that he already knows. Despite this, he still wants her agreement. Mei smiles brightly and promises that she will always be by his side whenever he needs her. Under the red glowing moon, they make a promise together. She reassures him not to worry about his clothes, saying he can sew them himself. Meanwhile, Chen reveals to the person on the other line that since the Red Moon incident, The orphanage has been rebuilt with Luke's funding. She confirms her belief in her decision despite concerns, and plans to personally report the situation to Professor Baji. Chen reflects that many people pushes that Luke is unstable, reiterating that no one is really normal anyway. She notes that he deliberately concealed his true abilities, and if the footage of the subway incident was sent to the monitoring team, his risk level should be far higher than previously assessed. She lights a cigarette and reflects that hidden psychic creatures may already be among them, and only someone crazy can fight against the growing threat. The morning begins at the family table as Luke calmly says he is prepared for his new job. Mama urges him to eat properly and quietly reminds him to take care of himself. She tells him that after breakfast, she has a present for him, leaving Luke surprised. She reassures him that the gift was specially prepared because of his new job. The peaceful moment is abruptly interrupted as Baba storms in, furious, cursing, and shouting with violent intent. He approached the table with rage, telling his son that he is being used and demands extreme action. He rants furiously, claiming the group never cared about Luke's life, and without his sister, he would already be dead. May clings tightly to her teddy bear, trembling under the pressure. He questions why Luke still wants to help people who tried to kill him. Luke calmly admits they were indeed at fault during the coffee shop incident. However, they also paid well for the job. Baba is stunned by the response, and grabs him by his collar in anger. He threatens to kill him, and as his closed fist near him, someone splashes water to his face, making him stop. Mama cuts in coldly, declaring that the real trash is him. She states that because of his incompetence and uncontrollable temper, they are still be trapped. Baba turns to her in anger, and gestures her 2 fingers. The angry man hesitates, confused by her action. Mama warns him to leave if he knows what's good for him. He continues screaming insults, calling them trash. The room erupts as furniture and plates shatter. A wide view reveals the wrecked room, with Luke standing protectively beside May. The bound man backs off, glaring at Mama, who is still calmly sitting. Baba turns away, retreating with restrained fury. Luke reassures May, telling her not to be scared. Mama says it's fine now, and reminding him about his first day and the promised gift. She smiles and tells him to get going. The scene shifts to a quiet room. Luke thanks his mother for his new suit, but wondering if he looks strange. She questions his doubt and looks him over carefully. She then removes his glasses and smiles, saying he looks much better now that he's tidied up. He thanks her, admitting he's not used to dressing this way and for stepping in earlier. She reminds him not to thank family and to focus on doing his job properly. But if someone harassed him, the whole family should meet them. The scene transitions to an office building. Luke leaves his desk on time, drawing attention. Coworkers whisper in disbelief about him leaving early, dressing well, and possibly having a girlfriend. Luke walks past the director's office without noticing the old man staring at him intently. Since the Red Moon incident, life inside the walls feels divided, with people moving on as if nothing is wrong. Some people waste their days idling, while others struggle just to survive. Food shortages remain common, and living a better life is harder than it looks. He observes that nothing is unusual so far and wonders if Chen will take away his benefits if this continues. May teases him for only patrolling after work and accomplishing nothing else. Luke admits he skipped dinner so he can start patrolling. He decides to go home with May instead, planning to work early tomorrow. A few days later, the director coldly explains that the company is struggling, and so he is firing Luke, keeping John instead since he has better work attitude. Luke insists he never left early and only stayed later than required, asking for another chance. The director dismisses him, stating the company needs fewer employees and shows no sympathy. Luke stares at his belongings in silence and wonders who helped organize his things. A coworker tells him that John cleaned up for him and took his position earlier. She calls him naive for always helping out others. She reveals that John is dating the director's daughter, making the outcome inevitable. He absorbs the injustice without responding and grips his weapon, weighing his next move. He recalls the rules: report to the police station, make the call, and only use the firearm as a last resort. He decides it isn't time to use force yet. Later, he sits alone near a coffee shop, debating whether to contact Chen. After a moment of hesitation, he decides to try anyway. Chen, now at the extermination force's office, answers and asks if something happened. He reports that he's run into trouble. She is suddenly alert, worried about the situation. Guilty, he explains that he patrols after work and never slacked off, but he was fired without reason. May bluntly asks if this is why he called, and he confirms quietly. She tells him to wait and assures him she can handle it. He sighs, waiting for her. May suddenly appears behind him, suggesting to turn those who troubled him into toys. With threatening face, she hints that their family would be happy to help, as Luke stiffens in silence. Luke rejects the idea, reminding her that killing is still illegal, and decides to wait for Chen's call before acting. 5 minutes later, the company's director suddenly appears, rushing toward him. The old man praises his work ethic and reveals that Chen personally recommended him, so he is appointing him as the project lead. Luke quietly realizes his job is now secured. John also apologizes for seemingly stealing his job together with his girlfriend. Luke assures him he's fine, and so John asks if he can join him in the project. Observing his expression, he senses a major opportunity, and so he immediately refuses John's request without hesitation. The director looks at his bag, but abruptly leaves after Luke receives a phone call. Chen calls to confirm the issue has been resolved. She can't understand why he still needs another job when he is being paid handsomely. He answers that he needs a second job since needs more money. Chen questions why Luke continues patrolling, and he explains that he would feel guilty taking money without doing the job. Since he is passionate, she gives his first official mission, and assigns him to investigate Ralph, the boss of the Fang Transport. The company is suspected in 7 to 8 homicides, and they need to confirm whether these are simple murders or something deeper. Chen orders him to report immediately if corruption is involved. He reflects that the number of 7 lives seem insignificant as mine pollution isn't involved. He asks whether the case carries special danger. Chen confirms corruption makes them dangerous beyond normal criminals, but with his ability he should be able to deal with it. She then promised him a reward after the investigation, and with this, he accepts the mission. Later, he returns to the office floor as employees continue working. He approached his table and finds his things are back. He calls to John and tells him that he should work with him on the new project. On their way to the project, he reflects that Fang Transport is not as simple as it seems. John expresses doubt to contact the company, as he continues to contemplate how complex and important the transport company is. The company controls major transport routes between cities and the capital. They stand strong despite damaged roads and the monsters. There are rumors that the boss is a woman, but she is nothing but a puppet. The true controller, Ralph, is introduced as a dangerous figure who needed to live within the walls to obtain resident card. He suspects Fang Transport is hiding far more than illegal trade. With this, he decides to personally assess their operations. Later, the Fang Transport compound comes fully into view. Looking around the warehouse, he confirms that he has arrived at the correct location, while John and his girlfriend follow suit. A man arrives and orders him to stop wandering and follow him. Workers gather around them, their presence intimidating. John nervously notes how dangerous they look, and the man aggressively asks what they're talking about. Luke instructs the others to speak with the manager, as he inspects the vehicles himself. Outside, he notices workers behaving too calmly, and notes that it looks different from the cafe before. He realizes these people fear nothing outside the walls. As he nears the trucks, he can see blood stains and impact marks appear on a truck. He kneels to examine dried blood on the ground. A sudden cry for help echoes through the compound. Luke stiffens as the sound reaches him. John is crying as the men kick him repeatedly for haggling with them, stating that their job is dangerous enough. The girlfriend screams at them to stop, threatening to call the police. Luke grips his weapon and runs toward the source of the trouble. He sees John on the ground as the woman explains that they try to haggle their price, but the transport men suddenly beat John. Just then, another woman steps in and slaps her on the face. Seeing this, Luke lets go of his firearm and contemplates to let them get hit more. He asks one of the men why the fights suddenly break out. The leader of the men accuses him of backing out from the business after they prepared everything that they need. He asserts dominance and plans to give them trouble for wasting their time. Luke smiles and calmly tells him that they should talk. The man refused to talk, saying that they should just sign the contract so they all could back to work. Luke refused to sign without reading it first. The leader mocks him for being so hard-headed, and the other men start to surround him. Cornered, Luke draws the firearm. He raises it and aims without hesitation. Shock ripples through the crowd as they realize it is real. Luke states that business should be handled through discussion, not fists. The leader scoffs and laughs, accusing Luke of bluffing. Others pull out knives and metal rods, surrounding him. Luke remains composed, keeping the gun steady. A man behind him suddenly charges forward, screaming in rage. A gunshot rings out, surprising everyone. The charging man is struck and sent flying backward. Panic spreads through the crowd as they realize Luke truly fired. He lowers the gun slightly, reminding them that everyone saw what happened. A woman then steps forward, her sharp gaze fixed on Luke, who still has a firm grip on his firearm. She quickly evaluates the scene and decides to let it go. She reminds him that the police can arrest him and urges them to leave. He refuses to, still intends to continue discussing business after what just happened. She is surprised to hear this, but he confirms, saying that the price must be fair and cannot be arbitrarily decided. She finds him rude when a man suddenly steps in. He casually remarks that he has conducted business while pointing a firearm at someone's head many times before, but someone pointing a gun at his people while talking business is a first. Ralph, the true leader of the transport company, steps in. The woman tries to explain, but he stops her. Ralph tells Luke to lower his gun and orders him to come with them. Luke gives a short, indifferent response. The scene shifts to a quiet interior room full of scrumptious food. Ralph eats aggressively, clearly unbothered by his guest's presence. The man complains that food inside the city never feels filling after living outside the walls. After being offered, Luke politely declines food, smiling and claiming he is not hungry. Ralph explains that surviving outside the walls required constant fighting and hardship, and so as long as he can live comfortably, he is content. Turning serious, he asks Luke directly why he came to find him. He admits that doing business at gunpoint is common outside the city, but seems like the boy have never been outside the walls. Luke reveals an identification photo and confirms if he is the leader of the group. The man narrows his eyes, questioning if Luke is the one causing him trouble. A tense moment follows as he grabs his weapon and points it at his guest. Luke calmly observes his reaction, noting that he has found the right person. Suddenly, May appears behind the leader, clinging to his shoulder. Luke remains composed, internally noting that the man is not as frightening as he appears. He explains that he isn't the one causing him trouble, and just wants to know if he is having problems lately. Hearing this, he questions whether Luke is working with the police. Luke raises his hands, denying any police involvement. Since it is dangerous to provoke him, he calls for his sister, who then taps the gun away from the man's grip. Luke smoothly flips the gun, disarming it with practiced ease. He unloads the magazine and declares that he is not there to cause trouble, only asking questions. The man looks around, disoriented at how Luke disarmed him effortlessly, and asks how he managed such precise control. Luke dismisses the question, insisting Ralph to focus on the conversation, asking him again about strange happenings. Ralph hesitates, clearly struggling with whether to speak. He studies Luke closely, sensing hidden strength beneath his calm demeanor. He curses under his breath and admits he encountered something unnatural that defies explanation. He reveals that everything started 14 days ago. He explains that after purchasing bear pills, his transport business changed completely. He bought the pills from someone named Wang, who really thought that he was a good person. So, he offed the person and took the bag of bear pills with him. He then fed Wang's remains to wild dogs, believing it ended there. However, the next day, a woman suddenly appeared before him. She cursed him after calling herself Wang as well, claiming he ruined her life and demanded her goods back. Hearing that she also calls herself Wang immediately catches Luke's interest. Ralph assumed she was Wang's mistress, so he killed her too, and buried her body and mixed with cement, pointing at the new platform scale. Despite that, he felt something was wrong and decided to investigate the woman. He found out that her real name was Ting, and didn't even know who Wang was, making everything feel strange. But more strange things happened. 2 days later, a terrifying figure appears again, confirming that the nightmare is far from over. Ralph explains that after 2 days, more people suddenly appeared and tracked him down. He recalls that one claimed to be Wang, while another said she was Ting, both insisting they were connected. Despite being surrounded, they still charged at him without hesitation. He states bluntly that they were slaughtered. Luke reacts in shock, realizing 4 people had already died. Ralph describes the most disturbing part of the ordeal was that after 4 days, 4 more people appeared, all of them strangers. Yet, they somehow found their way into his home. He says they came straight for his throat, completely unhinged. Their eyes were wild and terrifying, confirming they were no longer sane. Luke asks if all those people were also killed, but Ralph instead locked them up. He struggles to explain it, so he orders Luke to follow him, deciding to show the evidence directly. They arrive at a secluded structure hidden among trees. He opens the door and a foul stench fills the air as they enter. From above, bodies are revealed inside the pit below. Luke stares in disbelief, recognizing that these are real human flesh. Ralph remarks that he doesn't seem scared, and admits he was terrified at the time, and locked them here to investigate who was setting him up. However, before he could investigate, they started tearing into each other violently. He describes them acting like animals, ripping one another apart. Unable to watch anymore, he finally used a gun and killed them all. Luke realizes that the abnormal behavior centered around the death of Wang. Luke asks how many days passed since the last group appeared, and Ralph reveals that it has been 7 days. He concludes that an 8th group will likely appear soon. He grabs his phone and tries to report the situation to Chen, but Ralph threatens him with his weapon, warning that he should not set him up. Luke counters that even armed resistance won't stop what's coming, and demands to know how Wang could track his location. Ralph questions why he would even ask that. He explains that the attackers went directly to his home, so they will always going to find him. The man shouts that it's impossible, rejecting the idea. With the strange happenings, nothing is impossible anymore. He predicts that the threat will multiplying endlessly, and it will be dangerous for him since they're not afraid of getting killed. They won't stop until he dies. Ralph hesitates, since reporting this to the authorities could potentially put him behind bars because of his shady business. Luke reflects coldly that the wastelands may be preferable to slowly dying or being consumed by monsters. With no other choice, the man drops his weapon and declares that he trusts him. Luke contacts Chen, politely stating that he has something important to report. Chen tells him that a special operations team will be dispatched immediately since the incident involves mind corruption. She reminds Luke that while experience matters, instincts are still crucial when dealing with psychic mutant. Luke acknowledges her instructions, but didn't have the chance to ask about the payment. 30 minutes later, a vehicle arrives at the location. Boots hit the ground as personnel disembark in unison. Luke stands facing the incoming team, maintaining a calm posture. The leader, Roy, introduces himself as the leader of the Special Operations Group. Luke notes how formal the situation feels and told the man to call him by his first name. Roy hands him an earpiece and asks him to put it on. He inspects the device, puts it on. Status updates begin transmitting through the comms. Hana, corporal of the analysis team, addresses him, saying she will provide him with necessary data. A digital file displays information. Wang is then identified as the first psychic mutant. Hana explains, this appears to be a new type of mind corruption never encountered before. She considers surrendering Ralph to the corrupted individuals so they can block the source. As Luke hesitates, Chen talks to him, saying that this is a good learning opportunity for him. Luke responds enthusiastically, showing clear motivation. Chen notes that their data reveals victims did not know each other, but all became corrupted through revenge. There must be a key intersection point where the victims' paths cross, and they will surely locate the source of corruption there. Hana suggests that they investigate the life of the victims for a start. Luke asks how long would it take, but Hana explains that poor surveillance coverage complicates the investigation. Luke questions whether there is a faster approach, since more people are likely to get corrupted. Chen agrees. Efficiency is critical, since the source could mutate as the time passes. She thinks that they focus on Wang first, and orders everyone to investigate everything about his death. The team synchronizes, confirming the plan. A red moon hangs ominously over the city, signaling growing danger. A few hours later, a vehicle speeds through the target zone. Hana reports that 4 possible target areas connected Wang's death. Reports confirm no unusual activity in the first 3 locations, and the body of water near the southern border is still being investigated. The vehicle arrives at the lakeside. Luke steps onto the grass and finds it strange that May can be seen now after being away all day. He realizes that she arrives by the lake way earlier. While intently looking at the lake, she then turns to him, inviting him to come quickly and see something fun. He observes her closely, noting her unsettling excitement. He leans closer, asking what could possibly be inside the lake. She doesn't know, but that it feels very fun. He asks if she can use her abilities underwater. She has never tried using her ability underwater before, but eagerly says she wants to try now. Luke calls his sister brave and asks Roy whether the detection instruments can function underwater. He notes that May's psychic abilities don't detect what's underwater, so he doubts if the instrument can pick up anything. Roy confirms that short-term underwater should not damage the instruments, but their protective gear is not waterproof. Roy knows the risks, but if he orders, he will definitely obey. Luke volunteers to go down first, telling the others to wait above. Despite of protests, he calmly states that someone has to do the dangerous work. Since the other places have been checked, Chen declares the lake as the final suspicious location. Luke assures her that he will check it himself, and the captain reminds him the danger of going under. She then orders the immediate deployment of the Special Operations Team and commands them to drain the lake for investigation. Under the massive red moon, heavy machinery activates as water drains violently from the lake. Luke observes the scene and finds it amazing. Chen warns that dealing with mind corruption job is extremely dangerous and could trigger a large-scale disaster if mishandled. After the lake is completely drained, Chen orders support units to move out and tells the investigation team to stay alert. The team acknowledges the command and prepares their equipment. The captain explains that after draining the water, further investigation will continue with extreme caution. While watching them, Luke reflects that the high pay finally makes sense given the extreme risk. Chen praises his work attitude and mentions that she will apply him for an extra bonus, to which he is grateful for. The extermination forces descend into the drained lake basin. Together with Luke, May suddenly appears with unsettling excitement. She suddenly becomes alert and points at the pool of blood nearby. A detection ring reacts violently, signaling a strong anomaly. They suddenly hear voices blaming Ralph for their deaths. Dark voices echo repeatedly, demanding that Ralph pay with his life. Chen and Hana react in shock as the corruption manifests. The red moon fills the sky. As the accusing voices grow louder and more numerous, the area distorts visually as multiple black whispers surround the team. Suddenly, the dead fishes raise from the ground after an explosion. Explosive psychic energy erupts from the ground, shattering the terrain in all directions. Luke is violently thrown backward by the shockwave with a grunt. A massive crimson anomaly rises into the sky, pulsing ominously like a living heart. It attacks the operatives using its tentacles, holding them captive. Orders are shouted to retreat immediately as the situation spirals out of control. From behind a sealed perimeter, soldiers watch in disbelief as teammates are flung away. Luke steadies himself on one knee, narrowing his eyes as realization dawns. A grotesque psychic creature lunges downward at Luke from above. He realizes too late that dodging is impossible as the attack closes in. With this, May lends her power to her brother, clinging to his back. They swiftly dodge the tentacle. The girl declares she came to help her brother, tightening her hold. He thanks her while assessing that the current situation is dire for the extermination team. Hana declares that it's a mind assault, and there is an explosion of psychic powers. Chen orders all investigation teams to retreat immediately, but it seems too late since the monster is completely after them now. One operative shouts for others to dodge as the creature controls him. Luke and May sprint across the ground, escaping the attack. They hide behind a boulder, staring at the towering anomaly dominating the skyline. Hana confirms the target is a high-level psychic entity, far beyond expectations, and suggests evacuation. Chen agrees and declares that she will rush to the scene, and orders Luke to retreat. However, he refuses, much to Chen's confusion. He explains that several investigators are not infected, only being controlled, and decides to save them. Hana and Chen oppose his decision, telling him that it is too dangerous. May, on the other hand, shows support and volunteers to go with him, to which he is thankful for. With this, the siblings lunge forward. The operatives are at their limit as they continuously assault Luke while being controlled by the anomaly. The siblings dodge the attack swiftly and rush through the barrage of bullets. They leap through the sky and target the creature controlling an operative. Luke yanks the monster away from the man's body, and does this for the others as well in incredible speed. From the monitor room, Hana and the others observe how Luke is fighting against the pollutants, worried for his safety as he charges towards the psychic enemy. He seems as dangerous as the anomaly. Sensing something different, she calls for Chen and shows her that the surveillance team has backed down quickly after being freed, a sign that they really haven't been infected. She orders again Luke to retreat together with the personnel, but to her frustration, he keeps on putting himself near the anomaly. The siblings stare at the monster crawling slowly from beneath the surface. The monstrous psychic entity grows into a massive red tree, emitting more monsters from its branches. Luke smirks and finds it thrilling. They lunge forward and grab the monster's head. Behind them, multiple units in hazard suit are overwhelmed by the spreading psychic growths as the anomalies close in. The siblings attack the monsters, and swiftly dodging their assault as well. Luke realizes he will be overwhelmed first unless May captures the shadows before they surround him. He studies the shadows closely and senses that their attack method feels strangely familiar. He hands the scene to her for now. Reports describe shadow creatures with tentacles and human features appearing at the scene. Investigators conclude that the victims' bodies were destroyed while their spirits fused with the creatures. Chen and Hana question what Luke is doing at the scene right now, who seems using his own method to clean up the scene. It is confirmed that the target is above a level 1 corruption source, but should not have reached level 2 yet. Data analysis shows low self-awareness and a growth method based on capturing and fusing spirits. The corruption is traced to people seeking revenge against Ralph, with Wang identified as the key trigger. The team considers using Wang's corpse to directly resolve the corruption. Meanwhile, the siblings accelerate forward, swiftly continuing to dodge the monster's attack. They are confident that they can't be caught. May declares that the enemy will be the one to die instead. A massive red shadow tree glows with energy as they stand beneath it. May eagerly reaches toward the corrupted structure, expressing her desire to eat it. Luke tries to stop her, warning her not to consume random things. She happily devours part of the corruption, finding it delicious. The red shadow structure begins collapsing and breaking apart. She tears free from the shadow as it violently contracts. The corruption implodes, releasing shockwaves across the area. She is flung away as the shadow finally disintegrates. Luke looks around in confusion, unsure what just happened. May remarks that the creature got scared and fled. Luke realizes that even mind corruption creatures can feel fear. Chen orders for all units to immediately begin cleanup, and Luke to be on watch. He and the operatives acknowledge the command calmly. 1 hour later, the scene shifts to a secured excavation site, and the investigators discover a corpse buried within the lake bed. Chen asks if it is Wang's body, but Luke confirms that it is Ralph's. They then all turn to Ralph and raise their weapons at him. Confused, the man asks why they are pointing their firearms at him. Tension rises as Luke confronts him, demanding to know his real identity. Hana suggests telling him the truth and observing his reaction. Luke reasons that if Ralph is dead, someone else must have taken his place. The man reacts in shock upon hearing the word corpse. Luke states that the corruption source found earlier was his body, asking again who he is. Ralph begins questioning his own identity, seemingly unable to accept the revelation. Everyone gathered around and May held her brother's hand, shaky as she notes that Ralph looks like the fruits of the tree. He does indeed look like the shadow humans Luke was fighting earlier. Even more confused than they are, the company head starts to heave and runs away in a panic, feeling like they're all fakes who want to harm him. As the guns are raised and aimed at him, it becomes clear that the speed of his movements aren't normal. Told that the target was about to escape up the walls, Chen orders her men to seize him immediately. They open fire and several bullets hit their mark. Ralph drops to the ground, and for a few moments, it seems like he's about to get right back up. However, he just falls limp and lifeless, riddled with holes. To everyone's surprise, his face and body change to a familiar person. It's Wang Tui, the first victim that the investigation centered on. The extermination force handles the scene while Luke watches from afar. He looked up as a helicopter approached and soon found Chen descending from the aircraft. Regardless of the results, things will be cleaned up and he'll be endorsed for a bonus. A special team will investigate and analyze the case. It isn't uncommon for incidents to occur midway, but they'll understand given enough time. That said, there are barely any clues to this case. The captain mentions how they heard the fish speaking earlier. Their voices, saying Ralph killed them, still rang in Luke's mind, but Chen didn't hear anything, so she thinks he hallucinated. Still, she wonders which of the two Ralphs they were talking about. They head out with a lot of work to do. At the second satellite city's guard office, the newbie is told to rest. He finds himself in the middle of a large conference room, all alone except for May, who's devouring the plate of sweets given to him. The candy makes her giddy, and she grins while expressing her delight. Unfortunately, they have to stop and act normal as Chen returns from another task. She sees the open wrappers and notes that he might enjoy sweets after using his powers. No traces of pollution were detected, meaning the case was successfully handled. There are still a bunch of questions, but there shouldn't be more victims for now. While unable to believe how different his demeanor is while fighting, she shares that the corruption inquiry will be handled by a different team. That said, he completed the entire case despite skipping essential steps, and it makes her question if he's hiding any abilities from her. Based on their initial assessment, they should have an idea of Luke's capabilities. Exterminators are usually weaker than the pollutants, so they take extra caution. However, he skipped that and directly eliminated cases 036 and 041. He feels unsure sharing this, but admits that it was his sister who dealt with both of the targets. She's also the one who ate the sweets on the table. Asked where the little one is, he points forward and says May is right in front of her, smiling. Chen doesn't see anything and feels like she's being played. Pushing it aside for now, she questions why he charged in and disobeyed her orders. He says he saw that the other officers could still be saved, adding that he could clearly discern who was being controlled or not. The captain asks if he's actually able to see the twisted psychic field, and he's surprised that they actually couldn't. For now, she commends and dismisses him for the day, but there's still something he'd like to discuss. She misunderstands and assures him that he isn't the first mutant with bizarre abilities, but he's more interested in the rewards and bonuses for the mission. Told that it'll soon be transferred into his bank account, he scurries off to head home. On the way, May notes that several people stared at him with evil intentions, and how even Chen was trying to interrogate him for extra information. He dissuades her from speaking that way about his employers. The more varied one's abilities are, the higher the risk of going berserk. Pressing a button, the captain calls for a holographic conference with other executives. An old man suggests that Luke has mental energy exceeding 300, but another is more focused on the legalities of employing someone so dangerous. Despite his astounding performance, he clearly isn't mentally sound. If he goes wild, the risk he poses to the capital is unthinkable. Asked what he wants to do about it, he suggests that the newbie be placed under constant surveillance. Chen disagrees, recalling how he single-handedly stopped a catastrophe before. The man at the head of the table speaks, acknowledging both sides. Everyone is on alert at Baji's words. He then says that he's come with an important document that everyone should read. 3 days later, Luke is back in the office and receives a call from the force. Weirded out by the strange air, he answers and hears Hannah, saying she has the analysis results. Informing the head executor of the results is standard procedure in the organization. Thanked for her hard work, she starts the report on case 041. While the site should be safe, they still closed it off as a precautionary measure. The officers he saved are on vacation and wanted to extend their gratitude to him. Lastly, he'll receive a total of 36,000 yuan in bonuses and will receive a full assessment. He's confused as he hasn't heard of such an assessment, so she says it's meant to measure his abilities. After all, this is also standard procedure before they hire regular employees. The thought of stability in his employment makes him smile and takes all hesitation away. Luke asks what triggered the entire incident. The corpse of Ralph, which was dug up from the bottom of the lake, matches Wang's, while the DNA of the shapeshifter matches fur found in Wang's house. There are 4 people in the company associated with him, but ended contact years ago. They admitted that Ralph killed the other, and soon had a surge in appetite. Still confused, Luke wonders if this explains anything. It's unsure, as some mutants are able to alter memories. He finds it absurd. Wang might not know who he is, and thought that he's Ralph. Meanwhile, the lake monster is a clone. There are a few notable references, which in turn would explain the odd cases of strangers appearing to target the company head. The pollution from the lake might have turned Wang into Ralph, but was still in the early stages. Given enough time, it might have been successful. Luke's mind works as he tries to make sense of the entire situation, but Hannah assures that there's no need to worry, as they'll keep everything contained anyway. The call ends and all he can think about is the huge bonus from one mission, on top of becoming an official employee soon. A few hours later, May greets her brother, who's just coming home from work, but a dagger suddenly comes flying at him. Reacting immediately, she jumps in to grab it by the blade before it hits her brother. He called out, demanding to know who's there. An unfamiliar voice chuckles, confirming that they really are of the same class. Looking around, he sees another man walking on the walls of nearby buildings. It was a dashing and flashy young man, who says he's just testing the newcomer's abilities. He smiles and extends his hand, introducing himself as Gecko, from the extermination force. Refusing to take his hand right away, Luke asks if he realizes how dangerous his antic was, but the stranger says it's far from risky for spider class like them. As May offers to take over the entire situation, he sees that both his mother and father were watching from their window above. They were staring and raring to go, just like his sister. He smiles as it's been so long since they were so united. Clarifying, Luke says Gecko is the one in danger, and tells him to follow. The visitor is still perplexed, adding that other peers greeted each other in more intense ways, but their overly friendly nature just puts the newbie off. Moving on, he asks why the captain sent him all the way there. In order to complete his assessment, 6 freaks have gathered around the area. He gives no further explanation, and says he'll understand why soon. Noticing May, Luke tells her to stop gesturing around the man's neck, and tells Gecko that his sister nearly beheaded him, but there's no need to worry. There are rumors about him being dangerous, and now he understands why. Just then, the exterminator's bracelet pinged with the alert for his assessment, which will commence in 15 minutes. Luke is disturbed by how last minute the announcement is, but he has no choice, as his evaluators have terrible attitudes. All hyped up, Gecko invites him to see who can get to the site first and scales a wall. His actions make May wonder if they're going to have to catch up. However, her brother has other plans, which is leisurely taking the subway. Fortunately, the last stop takes him directly to the destination. He reaches the building as planned, and sees his supposed escort crawling across the walls in a hurry. Heaving, he says didn't lose, and just went back to look for him, who unexpectedly took the subway. Unrelenting, he suggests climbing the building, and is called out for his ridiculously childish behavior. Inside the site is Chen, and a bunch of scientists who will be assisting with his assessment. Luke asks where the mentioned 6 freaks are, but the captain has no idea what he might be talking about. The old scientists laugh, saying he must be referring to their little group. As Gecko plays oblivious, the two are formally introduced to each other, and the newbie is told that the peer can be used as a reference due to his similar abilities. The eccentric exterminator greets the experts brightly, but he's dismissively pushed to the side by the people he called freaks. Tong, the director, leads the way to the main examination site. They'll first test his mind power, which will determine how they can guide him. It'll help him improve his abilities and keep himself under control from pollution. Gecko chimes in, noting how their tests always yield ridiculous results. One time, he was told that he could turn fluid, which is basically impossible. They proceed with the shooting test, where numerous guns and targets are prepared. As he doesn't have any training yet, Chen starts off with a quick demonstration. She loads a gun, clicks the safety off, and aims directly at the target several meters away. Just one barely good shot in, she stops the training and hands him the gun without any further explanations. Luke can't believe it and argues that he wasn't trained at all, but is told that all he needs to know is loading, unlocking the safety, and aiming. Without much of a choice, he takes a steady breath and raises the gun. They all watched as he pulled the trigger, and got a disappointing result of 3 out of 10 points. Jaws drop at the shockingly terrible results, but Gecko calms the newbie down, saying he still has to get used to the gun. Luke takes the gun again, this time with May riding his shoulders and guiding his hands. With crystal clear eyesight, he pulls the trigger. Jaws drop once more as he hits the target right in the center, and proceeds to disassemble the firearm in seconds. After all, taking it apart is more enjoyable for the little girl. He adds that he isn't a fan of guns, and would like to test something else, but Gecko insists that spider classes like them are nothing without such weapons. Fortunately, Tong steps in, already satisfied with the results of this test. As such, they move out and go through other examinations such as bullet dodging, sprints, and even slipping into small spaces. In the mind ability test, the examiner tells him to use his ability to take the apple. At this point, May was getting tired of being treated like an employee. Since her brother was in no danger, she decides to have fun and starts to crawl towards the old scientist. Having fun on her own, May ends up stepping on the examiner's head and revealing a large bald spot. While finishing up with a mental health test, the scientists meet up with Chen to talk about the results. They place Luke at class, but his potential doesn't stop there. Just then, the last examiner entered the room, announcing the end of the process and saying there's a big problem with the mental health test. The young man is too normal, even more normal than she is. They allow the information to set in for a few moments. She asked about his life, starting from his time in the orphanage, but he was cooperative, even rationally talking about his family and the possibility of a real one. Normal people are rare after the Red Moon incident. However, she's certain that he's kind and influenced by the former director of the orphanage. As his spider powers come from May, one suggests that his parents might offer other abilities. The man from the mental test then shares how his wig moved on its own, even taking it off to show how snugly it fits on his head. With that said, it's bad news if he ends up being involved in the orphanage's explosion. A few days earlier, Baji shared a top-secret report on the incident 10 years ago. A lot of things don't add up, and may be the result of someone losing control of their powers. Luke carries the same risk, but given how composed he is, the director endorses him for recruitment. Other cities within the walls already have S-level mutants, and there's a chance of them being used as military forces. They already have an idea of how strong the newbie is and can be. With this, they unanimously agree to recruit and support Luke to the best of their abilities. In another room, the two mutants were getting bored of the long wait. Gecko asks how and when the newcomer discovered his abilities, but decides to talk about his own experiences first. It was winter and he was strolling down the street when he saw a lady working in the cold night. Reality was a bit different, but he paints himself as a good Samaritan who was busy helping her when a bunch of guards suddenly came knocking on their door. He hid in a hurry, and it was only until they carried the cabinet he was in back to the office that he realized that he was in a shoe cabinet 30 centimeters tall. Since the rookie will know all their secrets eventually, he gives him a head start and shares dirt on a couple of their peers. As he starts to talk about the color of the captain's undergarments, May chimes in, saying it's pink. Luke echoes her words and surprises Gecko, who takes a chance and asks him to reveal a few more details. Unfortunately for him, Chen walked into the room in that moment and questioned what they were talking about. Luke's results will be out in a few days, and he'll be learning his own abilities while waiting. Since they share similarities, Gecko will be in charge of showing him the ropes. There is a mission for tonight, and his task is to support and familiarize himself. As for his code name, he's handed his personal document and sees that he'll be called the Lone Soldier. For a bigger matter, Chen comes close to Gecko and advises him to stop talking about her behind her back. She even corrects Luke's statement, saying she's wearing black, but May frankly states that the captain is lying. Later on, the partners arrive at the site of the pollution. The newbie is given an earpiece and told to watch and learn on the job. His senior can't help but feel giddy over the situation. They hear an unfamiliar voice in the earpiece, saying the disposal and analysis teams are standing by. Linda surveyed from base and confirmed the signal. Gecko-kun's delighted to hear her voice again after a few days. She scolds him for referring to her so casually, but he argues that his way befits how beautiful her voice sounds. They compromise, albeit one the young man isn't happy with, and the analyst proceeds to report the information they have. Gecko emphasizes how important the information from their team is. After all, it'd be boring if they aren't there to talk to them. Each officer is paired with an analyst, mainly to increase their teamwork. The mention makes Luke wonder if the polite analyst, Hana, will be paired with him. The senior boldly announces that the setup makes flirting their main task. As such, he asks Linda again if she's single, a question she ignored last time. She argues that she did so because she had to attend to her baby, but he knows that the chances of her team won't let her bring an infant there. Upon hearing her say that she might have been taking care of someone much older, he gets excited and quickly leaps to work, even telling the rookie to follow. May demands to be given candy before anything else, and whines as her brother treats her like a kid who'll get cavities. The situation is nearly resolved when he flatters her with praise. However, she brightly insists on getting sweets no matter what, so he has no choice but to hand her a bar of candy. After chomping on the treat, she finally hops onto her brother's back, ready to get back to work. Belatedly joining his partner on top of the building, he's asked to look and see if he can see the contamination source. Using his enhanced eyesight, Luke stares into the warehouse far in front of them. Inside, a bunch of people worked endlessly like machines. There was no end to it, and they all mindlessly continued despite their injuries. To his surprise, his gaze meets a worker's, who suddenly turns to stare right back at him. Amid the mindless laborers was the pollutant, who was a man shouting at everyone there. Luke is curious as to what he might be saying, and is told that he should be able to hear if he concentrates enough. To give a helping hand, May chimes in and enhances his hearing as well. With her assistance, the target's voice starts to come through, and they hear him forcing everyone to work as survivors of the great disaster, even saying that it's what separates them from the lunatics roaming the wild. Only through hard work are they allowed to live in the main city. His face was red and veiny as he screamed at the humans, and Luke struggles to believe that he's the pollutant. Gecko heard that he has the ability to visualize psychic monsters, but this time, he can only see the human standing there. While he hasn't reached the worst level yet, mutants like him are even more terrifying. The sewing factory manager is a middle-aged man, but the factory is on the verge of bankruptcy due to mismanagement. 10 days ago, someone discovered and reported a mutation occurring on site. All the workers were mildly infected and attacked anyone who tried to stop them from working. They'll likely work themselves non-stop until they die this way. As such, the council has ordered for complete purification. Luke is unsure how, considering that there's more than 100 people there. Purification isn't necessarily killing, and some of the workers can still be saved. Gecko asks for Linda's advice, so she encourages them to use high-grade tranquilizers that they can shoot from afar. He's worried that the enemy's mental power is enough to block it in time, but this is why the analyst will distract him with a strike on the east of the factory. He'll only have a few seconds and one chance to shoot his shot. With a great plan in place, Gecko takes a big case and reveals his prized firearms. Taking aim, they count down second by second until Linda finally gives the signal to start. Right on her cue, the side of the building explodes out of nowhere. The trained officer doesn't miss a beat and leaps into action, still aiming and firing despite his dynamic movements. As planned, the target was preoccupied by the explosion and is oblivious to the bullet until it hits his back. The needle planted itself deep, and the mission is a success just like that. Soon enough, they had the main pollutant contained and out cold, but Luke found it odd how the laborers continued to work even without their boss. While Gecko was just gloating over his amazing performance, May smiled as she told her brother to look at where she's pointing. To his surprise, there's another odd being under the table. A girl with sunken eyes stared at Luke, repeatedly and chillingly, demanding to know why they weren't all working. Gecko reports the presence of the strange little girl. Based on the intel, the target had a daughter who died last year. Apparently, she was entrapped and left in a machine while her father was busy working. Her beady eyes stared into the two again, asking why they aren't working. Silence befalls the entire factory, and Gecko realizes that they're dealing with a level 2 pollutant. It's a separate component of the main body, with a degree of connection and independence. The boss must have used his mental power to recreate his daughter. If they can see her, then her energy level must be extremely high. The girl reminds the employees that they'll be punished if they stop working. Giving it a try for now, Gecko throws a dagger at her, but it passes right through the pollutant's body and lodges itself into the boxes below. She doesn't seem to have a physical body. To make things worse, she starts to emit an ear-piercing sound, questioning why they aren't working. The infected heed her call and gather around the two young men. One swings a huge axe, forcing them to dodge and ask Linda for a solution to the unfortunate situation. As such enemies are difficult for Spider Class, she tells them to retreat immediately while she appeals to the council for a princess class like Dolly. Unfortunately, that would likely lead to the death of the workers. Luke surprises them by trying to handle things himself, so Gecko is told to stop him right away. He and Linda switch to a private channel, and he's told about the newbie's risk of going berserk if pushed too far. Fighting a pollutant with a child's form might be too traumatizing. May flies around, happily carrying her brother across the battlefield. She suggests eliminating the main enemy right away, but this isn't really something he wants to do. Dodging and throwing the workers around, he says the girl looks pitiful, and while he knows she's a fake, she still looks way too real. The rookie has managed to barricade the way to the target. Now, he approaches and, with a stern tone, tells her to stop messing around already. Linda asks Gecko if he's done what he was told to do, but he argues that there's no need to stop the lone soldier yet. Although he didn't attack, how does he plan to deal with the pollutant? It looks like he's trying to negotiate somehow. Staring, Luke wondered if May is a level 2 pollutant, like the girl in front of him. The enemy attacks, again screaming and telling them to get back to work. This riles the infected up, causing them to charge through the barricade with sheer force. He covered his ears, highly tempted to eliminate her right then and there. Actually reaching out to do it, he's interrupted by a deep and loud sigh from nearby. A familiar woman approached, saying the two of them really aren't suited for such cases. The siblings were in shock. Mama was there, questioning how her son would even know how to handle a child. Watching the girl scream endlessly about work, she smiled and said someone her age should be more preoccupied with school. She adds that her father must have been so irresponsible and greedy for her to end up this way. He probably thought that he worked hard for the sake of his daughter, foolishly thinking that she'd understand and support him doing so. The child screams again, but the words get stuck in her throat upon hearing Mama speak. Her sheer aura was overwhelming the little one's contamination. Terrified, she froze where she stood, unable to move as the woman grabbed her toy, telling her to listen obediently. Smiling, she takes her demonic scissors and puts the sharp edges around the toy's neck. A jolting sensation hits the child's very spirit as she snips it apart. Along with the toy, her very connection to the world was cut off, and she screamed like the helpless child she is, broken, just like her control over the infected workers. They were finally freed, and Gecko could only observe in confusion as the level 2 pollutant was purified, not knowing how or why it happened. Unable to explain the situation, the two switch back to the main radio channel. While the siblings are waving goodbye to their mother, Luke confirms that he's eliminated the level 2 pollutant. Praising the lone soldier, Linda calls for the support team to enter the scene. They do as told and clean up, containing both the pollutant and the infected. Fortunately, the victims are in a state where they can still recover with help. They've achieved quite the feat with this mission. Gecko then badgers the rookie and asks what he did to purify the little girl, as all he saw was him snatching the little girl's toy. Luke explains that he used the tangible toy to see if he could scare the target. He's saying that she basically returned to the host after being frightened. The newbie mockingly asks if that isn't something they can do, and Gecko just sheepishly confirms. Linda chimes in, saying their report suggests that his actions triggered something deeper than fear. As she asks if he did something else just now, Luke realizes that tricking them into believing him won't be so easy. He gives a lengthy and detailed explanation of how he thinks his solution worked. Convinced and thoroughly impressed, Linda says the support team will take care of the rest. Gecko stops her from leaving for now, nearly begging her to help him write the mission report, but the two men fall silent as the analyst says that she has to feed her child. Moving on, the senior tries to teach the newcomer a lesson about maintaining control over himself. There's only one way to control his urges, and that's to have fun. Luke finds himself in a club late at night. Luke was having a difficult time accepting the lesson, which was to act crazy while he's conscious, to stop himself from going insane. He watched as his senior downed another glass of alcohol. With a firm and abrupt grip, he asks if headquarters was going to cover the costs of the excursion, but is only met with Gecko's skeptical face. He storms out, indignant at the thought of being forced to pay. Instead, he heads to the guard post training center. He was told to train there, and is now on a call alone with Hana, who'll be helping him. First off, everything about them must be kept confidential to common people. Meanwhile, all he could think about was wanting to see her face on the screen. Mind pollution was introduced 27 years ago by the Red Moon Laboratory. Research on pollutants has been going on for less than 30 years, and they're struggling to make solid conclusions, with the rise of special cases recently. Their objective is to figure things out as they go, no matter how difficult. With his acknowledgement, they move to the first main lesson, which is mind pollution and psychic power. After their discussion, Luke recalls his hazy memory of what happened in the orphanage. Walking back into their apartment, he sees Baba, scolding May and ordering her to come down from the ceiling. She chuckles and mockingly tells him to catch her if he can. It's surprising to see her talk back, since she always used to hide somewhere. Their father was furious, saying she got arrogant after eating something odd from outside. Coming close, the girl promises to tear him into pieces when she grows up. Instead of fighting back, Baba trembles and asks Luke why he even comes back there. He calmly holds up some dishes and a bottle of beer, requesting that their family just eat in peace for one night. What he doesn't hear is Mama, talking to someone who will be their new neighbor. Putting the phone down, she welcomes her children and says she was just talking to her friend. He's never seen any of her friends, and brings up what happened in the factory. She coyly says that she just happened to pass by, and saw them struggling like fools. Asked if the little girl pollutant actually exists, she says she was certainly a fake, just a part of another mutant. As such, he then questions if any of them are real. The room falls silent with his words, but Mama doesn't even flinch, saying he's the one who can decide that. While he's preoccupied with the thought, she shares that a letter from the orphanage came for him, and playfully winks, while saying she didn't look. Luke wonders why Lucy would send him a letter. Contrary to what she said, his mother reveals that the girl is inviting him to eat dumplings. The next day, the young man was heading to the orphanage with bags of bread and milk. Behind him, a stranger watched with a sinister smile on his face. Luke peers through the orphanage's windows, wondering where Lucy was. Dropping a thick wad of cash in the mailbox, he sneakily picks a bunch of flowers to place on top. But someone suddenly calls to him. He stops and turns toward the voice. Lucy asks if she's taking advantage of she can't catch him in a wheelchair. She only called him to eat, but he's giving money again, when he did so just a few days ago. Worried that he did something bad, she asks if he sold his kidneys for money. Promising that he still has both, he says he just found a great part-time job. However, she knows something that pays that much must be really dangerous. Although he assures her that he isn't doing anything dangerous, she reminds him to never do bad things, just as the old director taught. She shares that things have been going well for them, so he doesn't need to give money all the time. This makes him wonder if the organization pulled some strings to help the orphanage. Looking at her legs, he feels bad that she's been in a wheelchair all her life and intends to do something about it. The children watch them from inside and coo, but quickly fall silent as the teacher shoots them a sharp glare. Lucy takes the cash from the mailbox and gives it back, saying she'll be honest if she needs help, and telling him to keep himself fed. He then brings up the topic of the incident at the orphanage. However, she'd rather not remember such painful and sad things, so she just brightly invites him to eat dumplings like they planned. It was a great day, especially knowing that they're doing okay. On his way home, Luke comes across the strange man who was eyeing him before. Lucy's heartfelt smile filled his mind with joy, but it didn't stop him from noticing the odd presence stealthily approaching. Turning his head, he fishes through his pockets while looking at the man, who can only manage a sheepish. The officer swiftly takes his gun out and aims right at him, not even hesitating for a moment to shoot while asking what he was doing. Hit in the arm, the man says he must be crazy and starts to run away as fast as he can. Luke found it detestable and chased him right away, continuing to let it rain while they moved across the narrow alleys. They eventually reach a deep cliff, one that the man confidently jumps over. Easily reaching the other side, he's sure that his pursuer can't follow him there, so he's naturally surprised when the young man throws himself over the edge. Luke was as calm as ever as he fell, and silently called to his sister. May appeared to take his outstretched hand, always ready to help him as promised. She pulls him upright when he is about to crash to the bottom, and they leap high into the sky to continue the chase. Shocked, the man ran again, but the siblings have almost caught up and were gradually gaining. There was only a few meters left when the target suddenly jumped to the wall, seemingly trying to climb and leave. Unwilling to let him escape, Luke tosses the gun to his sister and tells her to kill the enemy. Catching the gun as it spun mid-aid, May aimed and shot several times in an instant. She hits the target's neck with multiple bullets, and Luke is surprised by how the weak revolver tears the neck apart. The girl hopped down while the head fell to the ground, but instead of falling with it, the man's body kept rapidly climbing to the top. They need to catch up, so they start to climb as well, but the unexpected moment gives the target enough space to get away. By the time the two reached the top, he was already on the other side, riding a motorcycle that was conveniently waiting for his escape. The patrolling unit appeared on the wall, responding to the strange turn of events, so Luke shows his badge and says he needs to make a call right away. Chen arrives with backup on a helicopter soon after, and they immediately look for the head that was shot off. Asked how he noticed the odd behavior in the first place, he frankly says that he shot the man after he inexplicably started approaching him on the road. She can't believe he shot someone just for looking, so he shares how there were string-like creatures from his body. What's more, he's certain that they were coming after his head. During the chase, he used the same creatures to hook onto other things. When they reached the wall, he decided to kill him before he could escape, not because he was weird, but because he was near the orphanage. While she takes a silent note of how ruthless he is when the orphanage is involved, he shares how the stranger had an escape vehicle parked right outside the wall. It's probably an outsider with abilities who's causing trouble. Just then, the support team brings the severed head in a glass container. Staring at it, Luke couldn't help but be weirded out by how the enemy ran without it. She points out that his reaction is too belated, then takes her glasses off and tells the head to blink. Her eyes glowed, and the target followed her command. Using her powers to converse, she orders it to tell her who he is. It swayed hazily for a few beats, but her power's grip wanes and fades soon enough. Already expecting this, she tells the others to cut it open. They open the glass container and reveal a box of tools necessary for the procedure. Seemingly having everything, they use the equipment to saw, revealing a brain that's nothing like a normal person's. The person behind it must have a hypnosis power like Chen, but more exaggerated. This is the first Luke has heard of the bizarre ability. There are 9 known classes, and one of the professors thinks that he isn't actually a spider class. He suggests that he's in an entirely new class, calling it Happy Family. She orders the support team to take the subject back to the lab for further investigation. After all, the disaster brought by the Church of Science must not be repeated. Luke wonders if she knows who's behind the incident. Outside the walls, organizations recruit mutants and use them in madder ways. This makes him worry about them going after those in the orphanage. Since there's a high chance of it happening, Chen decides to move the entire satellite city to a safer location, making a special note to give the orphanage residents the best placement. It'll be an official move, so there will still be rent, although he can't help but hope for it to be waived. While driving, she tries to make sense of how everything is connected. They'll conduct a city-wide investigation, and all officers must be on standby, including him. As such, he finds himself back in the day job, asking his boss for some time off in lieu of his little sister being sick. May is confused as she's used as a reason. Meanwhile, the boss is just glad that the problematic young man is leaving. Luke assures him that he'll be right back as soon as his sister is feeling better, but is told not to rush his return, and even given a few extra days off. 3 days later, he's eating lunch at the guard station without problems. He was elated since there was even an allowance for his daily meals. Just then, his earpiece pinged and he heard Hana, giving him the details of his new mission. As he acknowledges the basic details, she continues, sharing how it started with a resident reporting a stalker. It was false, but upon further investigation, all residents of the community were in anxious states, even feeling like there were eyes glaring at them from doors and windows. Because of this, one resident eventually ended up killing another. The investigation team confirmed trances of pollution, but something hindered their review. It was extremely confusing, as what hindered them was the similar feeling of fear the residents felt. A big part of the community is blocked to the public. There, Hui greeted him with a smile. He's supposed to be resting after the Ralph incident, but it was cancelled due to the investigation. There's major pollution from Building C, and they're struggling to enter and find the source. Once they reach the 9, 3, 12 floors, they get so scared that they feel dizzy and weak. Luke asks Hana why that might be happening, and it's basically a side effect of the strong contamination, which is still unidentified. With this, the lone soldier gets ready to move in on his own. He reaches the 6th floor, and as soon as he steps out of the elevator, he immediately confirms the reports, feeling fear strong enough to make him falter. He's told that he can also retreat if the emotions are too much for him to handle. Although he's confident, the world suddenly spins and turns hazy. There was something small approaching him from above. The terrifying figure then pounced with a frightening expression. But it was just May, asking why he didn't wait and pretending not to see her. She drops onto his arms, and Hana wonders why he stopped all of a sudden. Carrying his sister and moving forward, he says he just felt at ease. The fear is strongest on the 10th floor, so he heads to the 11th to confirm the location. Pushing even deeper, he finds himself right in front of the 31st room. Luke wondered what the best way to open the door might be, but May just hops off his arms and uses her bare hands to tear the barrier apart. Giving his little sister a satisfied thumbs up, he pushes the door open and is immediately met with an awful stench. Inside, he sees a dead man on the bed and a concentration of negative energy by the window. Sitting by the sill was a strange figure, likely the source of the sinister sense of fear everyone was feeling. May spoke, already wanting to have fun on her own, but was told not to bully the poor thing. Wondering if he could communicate, Luke slowly approached and informed Hana that it's just a normal contamination source. As soon as he turns the light on, the pollution starts to subside, and the being by the windowsill gradually disappears. Now, they clearly see the corpse on the floor, surrounded by buzzing flies. He's been dead for a while, and died while trying to reach for a bottle of pills. Hana manages to identify the man, who looks like a pretty normal person. The bottle contains medication for heart attacks, which is the likely cause of death. For now, he'll need to put the body in a special bag to cut off the contamination. Doing as told and carefully containing the scene, he zips everything up and signals the support team to come up and help. He still isn't sure how the pollution took such a shape. The man had no family or friends, then died alone in a highly emotional state. Since he didn't intend to harm anyone, the pollution was fairly low level. As for the fear, it's likely because he was afraid of not having anyone care for him in death. It's a sad thought. Fortunately, Luke won't have to face such a situation, as he has his family by his side. With the case closed, he can only hope that no similar situation happens again. After all, the man must have been hoping to be found sooner or later. The office has been adopting more methods to help relieve mental burdens, so such cases should lessen. Now, moving on to the pay, Hana brightly says that she'll be applying for all his subsidies, basic pay, and even overtime compensation. Saying it's just what he deserves, she declines his offer to thank her in person sometime, insisting that she's actually thankful for all the work he does for the city. Understanding her brother, May suggests going to the city to meet her if he wants to, but he bashfully argues that she's just a normal coworker to him. She then tells him to stop daydreaming, as city girls are pampered and won't like someone like him. Meanwhile, a car was just behind him. Inside, Shu identifies Luke as the man who can see spiritual creatures. Despite the organization's reports, he's also very unlikely to lose control of himself. As he has a personal commission, his assistant is told to keep the force away from it, and is informed that all he needs to do is decide on a time. Considering how someone important to him is in a terrible state, he asks to meet tomorrow. Around the guard post, Luke computed his earnings and thinks he can buy a house for the orphanage in a year. Unfortunately, he isn't expecting any big jobs that could help him save. Just then, Louis approached, saying an old man entrusted him to deliver his request. Due to his work, he's chatted with many ability users in the city. His client's daughter is ill beyond medical help, and they'd like him to take a look at her. He wonders if the private side gig is allowed. It more or less is, but as much as possible, they'd like to keep the matter private. Success would earn him 100,000, while failure would still get him 10,000. Doubting his ears, Luke's handshake turns especially firm from the high number. Despite the tempting offer, he says he'd like to meet the old man first. In the car on the way, the young man sees countless couples on the street, all of whom are holding rose bouquets. They soon arrive in front of a huge mansion, and the inside is just as lavish as the outside. Already thinking about the orphanage, he asks how much such a house would cost. Louis says the old man won't sell, and slides the contract across the table. There's still a long way to go before buying a house, as he isn't even sure if he'll get the 100,000. The agreement itself is pretty standard. According to Hana, the council isn't against collaborations, but they'll have to record everything. Shu entered the room with a bunch of medical assistants. On the other hand, Louis leaves, not intending to participate in the discussion of the treatment process. A big container banged repeatedly as the two spoke, so much so that Luke had to take note. Inside was the old man's daughter, Kathy, who had her whole life ahead of her. However, she suddenly turned into a lunatic, who can't be cured with normal medicine. The officer wonders why he won't let the pollution center handle her, and is told that he's doing it to protect her reputation from dropping. To show her symptoms, he sighs regretfully and unlocks the container. Inside, the squirming patient was restrained, to stop her from acting on her urges. It seems much more serious than expected. She started to go crazy when Shu fired the servant she was having an affair with. Asked if he has anything in mind, Luke says he can't see any pollution yet and needs to provoke her to see it acting up. He suggests that they release her for a moment and is warned that she might immediately pounce on him. Fortunately, he's more than capable of handling such a situation. As the father pushes a button, the restraints around his daughter's body open up and she quickly drops to the floor. Like a wild animal, she indeed pounces on the young man as warned. He swiftly turns to take her arm and pins her to the ground. Already knowing what to do, May approached with a smile and placed her brother's attention on something interesting. There was an odd bulge in the middle of her back. Tearing through the cloth, he sees a pollutant, which then shot spikes at the exterminator who revealed its position. Shu is told not to move, as the pollution was now going wild and emerging from its host. Several tentacle-like creatures with heads glowered at Luke, but May was already tearing them apart. Seeing this, they immediately escape, even leaving their host's body behind. However, it doesn't stop there as they cling on to the other women in the mansion, contaminating them like they did Kathy. Shu was also starting to fall into a daze. Although they've confirmed the pollutants work, May is more than enough to take care of it. She jumped around, trying to catch them all, but the little things popped in and out of objects. Luke couldn't allow his sister to be toyed with by cunning creatures. It's impossible to eliminate psychic power, so he'll have to look for the core. Since the crisis started with Kathy, she must be the key to it. With the tension and pursuit easing up for a few moments, the little enemies dove back into their victim's body. To make matters worse, they combined to form a bigger pollutant that emerges like a beast on her back. May couldn't be any happier at the sight of the interesting enemy, and suddenly opened her mouth wide to take a big chomp off its body. She clings tight and pulls it away from the girl, unwilling to let it escape like earlier. Meanwhile, Luke just gags at the sight of his sister's odd meal. Shu worries about his daughter and asks if she's still alive. The officer isn't sure, but the pollutant should have been eliminated. Just then, Kathy slowly opened her eyes and called to her father. As the old man tended to her, she groggily propped herself up, thinking about the parasite that got her. To their surprise, she suddenly demands that Luke leave the room. He doesn't mind much and takes a walk outside. There, he could still feel the pollution's aura. May comes out after eavesdropping and shares that everything happened due to an oil painting that they now want to keep for dark research. As the officer comes back in, Shu thanks him for all his help and talks about the reward, but Luke says it isn't the time yet, as the job isn't finished with his daughter still sick. The old man insists on doubling the reward, oddly eager to make him leave. They were obviously trying to get rid of him to conduct their underground dealing. However, allowing them to do so would only put more people at risk. His apprehension drives Kathy over the edge, and she points a gun at him, confident that she won't be arrested. Little did she know about May, who was grinning behind her. A quick slash cuts the girl's fingers apart, along with the gun that was aimed at her brother. Shu was incredulous, and couldn't believe that the young man dared to harm his daughter. Looking down at them, Luke argues that she started the hostility, even after he saved her. A sniper aimed at him from high above and pulled the trigger, but he was completely unfazed. Telling them to behave themselves, he powers up with May and starts to climb the walls to take care of the man who just opened fire. The sniper couldn't believe it, but he was already being pushed out of the balcony, his limbs tied across each other. He shook on the ground as Luke descended, telling his sister to take care of the other guards who were approaching. One unfortunate man is picked. She takes control of his body, turning and using it to shoot at his colleagues. Lastly, she smiled while pushing the gun up his own head. The girl was giddy from the final gunshot, but worriedly looked at her brother, remembering his apprehension towards killing. Fortunately, he pats her head and even praises her for a job well done. Louis was trying to de-escalate, not wanting for irreversible chaos. As such, Luke reiterates that he's only returning the hostility that she directed towards him. Shu was still furious, accusing him of disregarding the law, but his stunned silent as the officer stated that the painting is something they can't handle on their own. Considering his real job of eliminating pollutants, he'll have to inform his higher-ups. With a corporate tone, he calls the captain and reports on the situation. Chen arrives on the scene within minutes, demanding to know where the painting is. Seeing her, Shu demands an apology for what her subordinate did to his daughter. She tells him to file an official complaint, as she doesn't see anything wrong with Luke's actions. On the other hand, he's been hiring scavengers to illegally transport items into the city. Later on, she tells the old man to spill everything he knows. He recently sent his daughter to fetch something amazing found by the scavengers. If it weren't for her symptoms, the painting would have been in the city long ago. Now, she orders the girl to speak. She arrived on site and found all of the scavengers dead. She had no idea what happened, but in addition to their goods was an amazing painting. As it was so beautiful, she wanted to keep it a secret from her father, but wanted to share the joy with someone else. That's when she called a servant into her bedroom, and the rest is history. Shu did not realize that pollutants could be this dangerous, but it's their greed that caused it all. As the two officers now head back to the guard post, Luke asks how an inanimate object could be a pollutant. It's possible to store power in objects, and custom weapons are made with the same logic. Stuck in traffic, she tells him to learn how to drive. The road is jammed due to a couple in the middle of the street. A girl was proposing, after breaking up with her partner and fooling around with others. She clings to him, insisting that she's realized her true feelings for him, but he just screams at her for becoming insane and irrational all of a sudden. With crazed eyes, the woman says it's because she loves him, wanting to be with him forever. She comes close to suck the life out of him. The girl screamed as the man she loves fell lifeless. The aura she emanated started to affect everyone, imbuing intense and crazed feelings of love in their hearts. Chen quickly identified it as a sudden pollution outbreak. She orders everyone to retreat immediately and tells Luke to sit tight as she urgently slams on the car's accelerator. With the tailpipe roaring, they crash into the other cars and force their way through the traffic jam. It's the only option at this point. Still plowing through the obstacles, Chen reports to headquarters and asks for the Special Extermination Force. A familiar figure was watching them nearby, holding a rocket launcher and aiming right at their vehicle. Chuckling, Mei tells her brother to run for his life. He realizes what she means a bit too late, and the car had already overturned from the explosion. While he was losing consciousness, his sister dove toward him, saying she's there to help. It was a complete wreck. As he opened his eyes, he thought about the painting and saw Ralph, grinning and full of life. He should be in the guard post storage, so why was he there? Calling to the young man, Chen was in a similarly injured state and was covered in wounds. Although he says he's fine, there were big gashes on his body, but these don't matter much to Mei, who's able to easily heal him back to full health. While the captain confirmed that he also saw Ralph, their attention is turned towards their surroundings. On top of the flaming wreckage, a bunch of men surrounded them with multiple machine guns. There was no escape. They opened fire, aiming right at Luke's defenseless body. There isn't anything he should be able to do, but a familiar voice echoed. Mama appeared, hugging him and asking how he got himself in trouble again. Chen couldn't see Mama, and the only thing visible to her is Luke, holding his hand out and casting a barrier to stop the heavy bullets from hitting. There was also the shape of a woman standing in front of him. She questions how high his psychic power must be to do this, but gets a grip and reminds herself of her position. In her control is the ultimate weapon, capable of destroying everything in her path. With such power, one might feel like the king of the universe, and she's there to prove that she is. Using her hypnotic abilities, she orders some of them armed men to point their guns at each other. The enemies take each other out just like that, and Luke sees the strength of mind transformers once more. Mama says her child must have been bullied really badly this time. It's true that he would have died if she didn't come to help out. The captain takes control and reports the situation back to base, but her eyes open wide at their reply. She orders a first-degree alert to the town. Red lights and loud alarms blared in the middle of the city. Civilians are confused at first, more so when they see other humans rapidly charging at them. While everyone ran in fear, the organization was trying to keep things under control, as similar outbreaks are happening in the satellite town. She sees the lone soldier's cold and crazed eyes, not knowing he was conversing with his mother, who was curious as to what he was going to do about the chaos. He's thinking about it as well. However, she goads him on, saying Ralph must be laughing after he attacked and stole the painting. She even gestures to Mei, who is clinging to her dress like a terrified child. The thought of his sister feeling that way infuriated him so much that Chen could feel the dangerous aura emanating just from a simple touch. His mental energy must be spent. With the pollution posing a huge threat, she asks if he can carry out missions. He's confused and she tries to explain the situation, but he's already running off on his own upon hearing that the town is in danger. A man who was pinned down by a motorcycle thanked him as he propped the bike up, but instead of helping, he just stole the vehicle. He stops for a moment, seeing May in the middle of the road. The pollution on the main highway was gradually spreading. It might be related to the woman whose marriage proposal was rejected. The analysts are told to send her next 2 orders to all surveillance teams. First, everyone with symptoms of psyche mutation must be blocked, even with death. Secondly, everyone else must lock themselves in their homes with televisions. They must not meet up with relatives or partners. The safety of the town lies on their shoulders. While Mama wonders what will become of the case, Luke rides the motorbike with his little sister. Together, they race toward the city's outrage. The satellite town was in flames and chaos, with polluted residents chasing after civilians. Some do their best to hide in the safety of their homes, while the special forces form blockades and hold the main roads. Meanwhile, Luke was driving as fast as he could, and eventually reached the place where the orphanage was moved to. Hoping everyone was safe, he stops the bike and greets the officers there. Hui welcomes him, and he asks why the special forces are there specifically. They're apparently there on Chen's command, ordered to keep the orphanage members safe. The young man is surprised by the captain's special consideration, and is handed the radio set officers are usually given before a mission. Putting the earpiece on, he hears a familiar voice. With his confirmation, Hana asks for a report on his current situation and state. He calmly says that he's at ease, so she clarifies that she's asking about his physical condition. While he bashfully answers, she brightens up and affirms her support for this case. Other towns are also experiencing outbreaks, and their job is to defuse the situation. His mission, specifically, is to head to the community hall and curb the spread of pollution there. Luke's bike is brought to him, but he doesn't need it anymore. Chen protected the people he cares about, and it's time for him to return the favor. He tosses a lollipop to the sky for May, who grabs the candy and lands snugly on his brother's shoulders. Now, the two share their power once more and leap into action, leaving the investigation unit behind. The safety of the city basically rests on the lone soldier's shoulders. The chaos is undeniable as he jumped over the buildings of town. There are many cases of overwhelming psyche mutations, meaning it really is mind corruption. A man was just killed after glancing at his friend's wife. Based on Chen's early report, they've encountered a similar case related to red roses before. Recalling the sudden surge of couples on the street, he wonders if Ralph is connected to it somehow. The woman who proposed received roses at first, and developed obsessiveness which burst onto others. Unfortunately, they aren't sure what the next stage of corruption will be yet. Luke's main task is to eliminate the hosts. To cut off pollution, they search for the polluted to stop the spread. He arrives at a community mall, which was crawling with the infected. At this point, the spread seems inevitable. He's asked to prioritize the elimination of the Red Rose's host. The officer leaps in, ignoring the enemies around him, and crashing into the building through the windows. From a few floors above, he sees the pollutant on the ground floor and jumps. Hana confirms the progress of the mission, and in front of Luke's eyes was a man carrying his lover, and a huge rose sprouting from his body. Hana's advice is to put the corpse into a special storage bag and burn it. This is because she doesn't have Luke's eyes, which can see the pollutant, in the form of the deep red rose stemming from the victim's body. Around him was the intense feeling of desire and allure, so much so that figures of women materialized, cooing and seducing him. Weirded out as he doesn't even like that many women, he grabs the stem and pulls it apart, immediately causing the spirits to fade away. Since it's a bit too odd, he prevents his excited little sister from eating the pollutant this time, much to her disappointment. Anyway, the main threat has been eliminated without much trouble. Hana commends him and says they have to stop the spread of the corruption next. This is going to be more troublesome. He'll have to redirect the infected, or sabotage their way out until support arrives. Getting a rather brash idea, the executor breaks a steel pole and jumps toward a target. He breaks her legs in an instant, and tells the civilians outside not to go near her until the alarms stop. The first is down, so he moves on to the rest. As the analyst asks what he's doing, he says he saw no way to control their actions, and went with the easier route, which is immobilizing them by breaking their legs. Given his hitting accuracy, their bones should be easy to reconnect later on. It's a painful ordeal for the couples, but they should be safe for the rest of it. May says he's just bitter because he's single. The two move on with a lot more areas to handle. He sees another pair or lovers on the street, and jumps in to break their legs. To his surprise, they raise their hands in fear, and ask what he's trying to do. Apparently, they were just trying to share a final kiss on Doomsday. The officer reasons that they had their arms around each other, and sheepishly walks away while being scolded for his nosiness. They just watch while he climbs up a building several stories high, easily making it to the top in no time. From there, he gets a better look at how bad the situation really is. While wondering what to do, he's asked to report. the people have seemingly calmed down and are now walking towards different skyscrapers. In fact, some of them are already standing at the roof edge. He has to act fast before they do anything destructive. Just then, he hears one couple professing their love for each other, right before throwing themselves over the building. Asked to take a closer look, the lone soldier confirms that the ones jumping are the same people who were infected twice. After reaching the pinnacle of their emotions, they're getting an urge to self-destruct. Based on the analysis, those reinfected have 30 minutes before developing such tendencies. Couples embrace as they jump, while those single leap to express themselves. Wondering how it came to this, Luke continues breaking legs. This is likely related to the stolen painting as well. In other words, Ralph is involved. Before going after the masterminds, they have to stop the damage, so the siblings split up to cover more people. While her brother works, May calls to him, showing how she molded the bodies of 2 civilians to stop them. Told not to fool around too much, she instantly separates them with barely any effort. He's surprised that she can even do such things without harming them. The situation seemed contained, but Luke realizes that it's much worse than expected when he looks around. On top of all the buildings around him, people were leaping to the ground and he had no way to save them all. Hana assures that he can only do so much and shouldn't blame himself. Save just whoever he can. This is also what the old director said. However, if so many people die, he can't help but feel helpless. Just then, he hears a loud whirring from above. A helicopter was flying over their area, and out came a familiar and gorgeous woman. The infected all looked up at her, allured by her sheer beauty. Their hands reach up to the sky, professing their love and desire to have the woman. Even Luke couldn't help but feel similar inside, and to his bewilderment, even May was showing signs of attraction to the newcomer. That said, her desires were a bit more intense and destructive than others. Before she could do anything, the lone soldier calls to Hana, who says Dolly must have come to offer support after cleaning up in her area. She must be the same person Gecko mentioned not too long ago. He's warned against looking her in the eye, as it may cause irreversible changes to his psyche. Based on how long he stares, he might not be able to wipe her from his mind, and eventually, he'll develop a strong desire to destroy her, feeling like she doesn't belong in this world. After all, it's too dirty for someone like her. Seeing Dolly about to leave, the infected move to chase after her. Couples let go of each other's hands, losing interest in each other, and instead rushing down the stairs of the building. Instead of dying, they all want to get closer to the officer, who's effectively saved their lives. There are still a few areas that need support, so Luke will have to rush there now. He leaps into action, telling Dolly to go to the farther location as she's capable of flying. She stared at him for a moment, silent, then affirms the instruction. Hana is surprised that she actually responded. At the main bridge, police officers are being pushed to the limit by the infected. The contamination has already begun. Luke asks his sister if she's already tired, but the analyst misunderstands and thanks him for his concern, thinking he's talking to her. He just laughs it off and proceeds to get to work, believing that the victims can still be saved at this point. The problem is that there are just way too many people to deal with. Just then, he feels the world shift, almost as if he fell into a completely different dimension. It was an odd sight that he couldn't really make sense of, and people were disappearing one by one. Even May was nowhere to be found. Hana urgently called out due to his odd behavior. He explains the situation and asks if she can see it, but he's interrupted by an old man, who asks how he entered his world uncorrupted. He lets the analyst know, and is told that it must be the drunkard. Introducing himself, they realize that they're colleagues. The old man says he's got things covered in the area, and questions how he entered the world. Luke argues that he's the one who should be explaining that, but neither have an answer. As such, he extends his hand, and as soon as they shake, the world returns to normal. The drunkard suddenly appeared as a young woman, saying only normal people should be allowed in. Her odd ability bewilders the newbie, but there's no time to talk about it, as other places still need help. With this, the girl continued on with her intoxicated rescue efforts. Luke yelped as May suddenly bit his leg, which is her attempt at snapping him out of the daze he suddenly fell into. Hana explains that the drunkard is an 18-year-old student. Due to an inexplicable barrier, she perceives herself as a 60-year-old man. It seems his peers are much more bizarre than expected, but with her there, the situation at the bridge should be contained well. Everyone's efforts are paying off, and there's only one more location that needs help. This is the south wall where Gecko currently is. Thousands of infected people are swarming, and the situation is extremely urgent. On his way, Luke asks what's wrong with the south wall. A large number of people suddenly charge there, forcing civilians to flee. He worries as the South City is where the orphanage is located. It's unknown whether or not a mental pollution outbreak has occurred. Understanding, he makes his way there as fast as possible. He lets May rest for a moment and retrieves a motorbike from the street. Together, the two siblings rush to the site at a much faster pace. While speeding through, he notices that it's oddly and eerily quiet. Reaching the location, he's met with an even weirder situation. People were mindlessly walking towards the walls, not even noticing him pass by. From the top of the wall, Gecko called out, telling him to climb quickly. He then abandons the bike and scales the wall with his sister, reaching his colleague with a few quick jumps. They greet each other, with the lone soldier identifying himself to the police officers. His senior talks about how he's cried multiple times in his life, but for the first time, over 10,000 people were crying as they stared up toward him. None of them could make sense of it. Gecko was ready for a tough pollutant, and didn't expect to encounter such a still scene. They've tried a few things here and there, but got no response whatsoever. Considering everything, Hannah discourages him from taking any rash actions. With the pollutant core and logic chain are unknown, Gecko suggests using a sleeping bomb, but Linda scolds him and tells the officer to use it on himself. As another attempt at flirting from her officer is shot down, the lone soldier is asked for his opinion. Luke wonders if it's possible to get Dolly to come there, but they don't recommend it since it may lead to unpredictable changes. Right now, the priority is locating the logic chain to break it. Since they can't keep watching, he decides to investigate personally. Gecko tries to dissuade him, saying there are way too many people at the bottom, but it isn't a problem if he's getting paid for the job anyway. The young man rappels down while looking at his senior, and brightly says that he'll be promoted before him. However, even May chimes in, warning that he's being an idiot again. Met with nothing but a chuckle, the sister hops on his back, telling him to buy her toys after today. The people don't look at him when he reaches the bottom. It's very quiet, and the only movement is from their chests as they breathe. He comes close to an infected and waves his hand in front of her eyes. Just then, she slowly turned to face him, with her tears still flowing endlessly. The test subject is a woman, and she's responding to Luke's movements. He moves on and tries to trip her this time. With a light kick, she falls to the ground as expected, causing the other people around them to all look at him. Gecko questions if he's just trying to see what it takes for them to pounce at him, so Linda scolds him and suggests that he go down instead. They're only looking, but doing something extreme might not be a great idea. Taking a different approach, Luke tries blending in to understand their experience. Hannah argues that it might not work since it might only affect normal people. Oddly enough, the lone soldier has always viewed himself as a very normal person, an idea his analyst can't easily agree with. The idea is to feel what's affecting them, to identify the logic chain and find the core. Gecko wonders if he's using a new type of training and investigation method, but aside from standard compensation briefings, he hasn't started on anything else. The mention of compensation makes the colleague think that it might just be enough for Luke. An hour passes, and he's nearly fallen asleep while standing there. Thinking it's impossible for someone as normal as him to be unaffected, he asks May to distance herself, since her presence might be keeping him safe. Told not to stray too far, she asks for a big and living toy next time. Her brother seriously considers it, only if she takes good care of him. With this, the little one jumps off to a safe, but considerable distance. The young man tries to focus again and feels a tear drop. He was finally blending in as planned. Just then, the sound of a crying child reached his ears. His mind recalls a memory of doctors standing over him. Next, he was all alone, crying in the rain. These scenes endlessly alternated along with the sound of the weeping child. Soon enough, tears started to fall from his eyes as well, and he only stopped when May's bite snapped him out of the trance. Denying the idea of crying, he tells Hannah that he's found traces of the pollutant, so it's time to get ready. Asked what type it is, he explains that it's the sound of a crying boy that engulfs the victim in overwhelming grief and illusion. She wants to instruct the investigation squad, but dissuades her from letting them in. Their masks will prevent them from hearing the cries, but taking them off will infect them. It's uncannily similar to the apartment case, where everyone was too afraid to move closer. Gecko wonders what Luke is planning. Linda says he has actually detected and is now pursuing the source of corruption. Gecko is impressed and makes a quip. Linda tells him to focus and be ready for anything dangerous. He says he will comply and opens the box containing his sniper rifle. He places a bullet inside while asking if Luke's dedicated analyst is pretty. Linda confirms that Hannah is the most beautiful analyst and wonders if Gecko agrees. He starts to joke about the possibilities, but Linda points out that Hannah is still a child. Gecko says he now has peace of mind and then looks through his scope at Luke, who is moving through the crowd. The lone soldier finds the main source. He says he can clean it up anytime, but Hannah recommends he temporarily retreat. Luke observes from a safe distance. The pollutant energy around the source starts to get stronger. His head opens up like a robot, revealing a mechanical ball inside. It jumps out of his head and floats in the air. Luke says that the crying wasn't from a little boy, but from a machine that played a recording. Hannah looks worried and tells him to be careful, as the ball is a product of tech sect. The machine detected an unexpected target and said it is entering the second phase of the experiment early. Energy swirls around it, and it then blasts a powerful sound at the crowd of people. Meanwhile, in the ruined city 30 miles outside Qing, Ralph and his accomplices are sitting on the rooftop. They are playing cards. Ralph puts down a pair of twos. A man with a big head puts down a joker bomb. Ralph looks a bit annoyed. The boy then puts down more cards and declares he now only has one left. Before he can put it down, though, the masked man places a bomb card on the table, ruining his plans. The big-headed man asks for another game. Ralph gets up and says there is no need, as based on this, they can be sure that there is no problem with their logic chain. The masked man finds this method of testing quite amusing. Ralph checks a tablet and then says that it seems like it has already started. He can see the blue energy in the distance. The masked man figures that it was activated earlier because it was discovered by an ability user. Ralph isn't concerned, as the number of people gathered will already be sufficient for the experiment. They all smile as everything is going according to plan. Big Head says the request for the painting is complete, and the new tech will be enough to cover their escape. Most importantly, once this is over, 2 of their 3 missions will be completed. He turns to his companion and says the only regret is the laboratory was destroyed by carelessness. The masked man replies that it is not his fault, since all his puppets are on the boss's mission. Ralph says that the most important thing is the painting. Also, being able to accomplish 2 tasks without any casualty is a good result. He tells them to gather their things, as they will leave immediately after collecting the explosion data. Meanwhile, the round machine is sending a wave of energy upon the hapless crowd. Luke looks on and wonders what is happening. An abnormal fluctuation is detected as some people's life force is sucked into the machine. Their bodies blend together, forming a grotesque figure around the tech. Luke sees it and reports that a psychic monster probably connected to the tech has appeared at the southern wall. Gecko sees it through his scope. He is not afraid of it being fierce as long as it doesn't hide. He asks permission to use the special bullets, and Linda replies he need not ask in a situation like this. Gecko smiles and says he was simply informing her that he was about to use them. Meanwhile, Luke is instructed to take care of the monster immediately. May appears and says she probably needs her help now. They touch hands and he leaps into action. He lands on top of the monster and rips it apart in 2 with his bare hands. It doesn't kill it, though, as both parts become separate monsters. Gecko says he will take care of the one on the left, and Luke goes for the other one. He aims carefully and fires the special bullet. It soars through the air and strikes the monster. Gecko is pleased with the plasma bullets and is disappointed that they just can't request them anytime. He tells Linda that they should pretend that it took 2 shots to kill the monster. She chastises him for teaching Luke how to swindle supplies. The lone soldier reaches the other monster and jumps on it. He rips it apart again just like he did the first time. The exact same thing happens again, and the beast is simply split into 2. They continue to suck in the aura of the people around them. Luke feels something is not right as the monster grows bigger. He then realizes that it can consume the mental power of those around it, as the monster has now become gargantuan. Luke makes an open wound on the back of the giant monster. Despite the effort, the psychic monster is still absorbing the consciousness of the mindless and is still growing in size. Hannah and Linda find it impossible that there is a monster that can combine the mental powers of people so quickly. Gecko keeps firing his special bullets, but urges the analysts to find a solution. The giant monster has wounds all over its body from the bullets. Luke also attacks by tearing more pieces from the monster. Despite their efforts, the monster still grows. They see from their equipment that the monster's mental energy is growing exponentially. It grows and grows until it is the size of a building with a mental energy of over 1,000. The analyst believes that the monster will be a B-class level threat soon. Luke and Gecko keep attacking the monster, even though they know they have nothing to finish it off. Gecko says he is out of bullets and asks the analysts if they already found a solution. Linda tells him that they already contacted HQ to send reinforcements, and that all they can do for now is to stop the monster from growing further. Linda shares that the monster is not doing anything for now aside from absorption, and that she suspects that it is artificially created to kill all living things in the city by exploding. She advises that the only option for them is to destroy all the corrupted people to keep it from growing further. Luke logically deduces that the 100,000 citizens are important in this scenario, but finds it horrifying that he needs to kill all the corrupted. The analysts tell Luke that HQ wants them to withdraw for now. Luke answers that they should withdraw without him, shocking the team. He elaborates that they should be far away to be as safe as possible, and that they should not observe him, even with cameras, due to the danger. Hana tells him that they need to report it to the higher-ups first. Luke agrees but asks to hurry. Hana reports to HQ with urgency and asks for further orders. Chen is elsewhere in the streets, asking the analysts what Luke is up to. At headquarters, the department head, Shin, just received Luke's plans and is angry that he has no idea what the man is going to do. In the lab of HQ, Baji receives a report from a soldier confirming that Luke lied about what happened in the orphanage 10 years ago. Despite the deception, Baji tells the soldier to allow Luke's plan. Chen also tells everyone that he trusts Luke's decision and allows it. Elsewhere at HQ, Shin's advisor tells his boss that whatever Luke does will be better than just shooting the monster until it explodes. Shin reluctantly agrees to go through with it, but with the caveat that the special operations team should also remain on standby and be ready if his plan fails. Hana reports to Luke that they have received permission from HQ to go through with his plan and asks that he be careful. Luke slowly walks towards the towering monster. He smiles despite knowing that even Mei seems to be helpless against the monster. He calls out Baba and Mama. He tells Mama that he wants to get rid of the monster, find out who did this, and get rid of them. Mama tells him that she has no plan to stop him, but asks who else he is planning to deal with. Luke answers that there is no one else, but Mama replies that she knows he wants to use Baba for the situation. Baba keeps screaming that he will destroy things as they talk. Mama warns Luke that letting Baba out means things might go out of control even further. Luke asks her what she thinks he should do. Mama asks if he trusts his family. Luke thinks about how his family is too trustworthy since they just appeared one day and are terrible people who seem to keep secrets even from him. Mama reminds Luke that, despite calling himself a normal person, he remains unaffected after entering an ability user's realm and can even hear the sound of crying that no one else can. She continues to say that instead of borrowing Mei's ability, this time he should lend his ability to Mei. Luke thinks about it and chooses to believe in Mama and his sister. Luke calls Mei and tells her that he will give her a toy. This makes Mei smile and excitedly cling to his brother to let him fly. Mei brings Luke towards the monster. Elsewhere, Gecko sees how the monster is being surrounded by a mental distortion field. Luke smiles as he goes further towards the monster. Hana and Linda both detect a mental distortion field ability that can capture a wide area, and both normal and ability users are vulnerable to its mental attacks when entering it. Gecko worries that they need to take out another comrade if Luke loses control. Meanwhile, Luke enters his own distortion field to get to the monster. Gecko is curious about what Luke will do against a towering monster that just won't die. Luke watches as Mei touches many corners of the monster's body, distorting it. He concludes that the monster is not a product of an ability user but a contamination. The monster tries to swat Mei away, but the girl just has fun dodging it as she continues to go around the monster's body. The monster then splits away from the body parts Mei has already distorted. Luke sees that the monster is abandoning the corrupted part of itself. The monster tries to go away, but it sees Mama and gets intimidated. Meanwhile, Luke is standing on the distorted pieces the monster has abandoned, as if they were now a separate entity that Mei can control. Mei smirks at the monster and attaches herself to it. Both the monster and its distorted counterpart face each other face to face. Mei and Luke then let the two large creatures bump into each other. Elsewhere, Ralph is worried since his tablet tells him that the monster is becoming unstable before it even reaches its peak level. His masked comrade tells him not to worry and asks if he wants him to send a puppet to take a look. Ralph agrees that he should take a look, but that he needs to take only a second to do so and break the connection immediately. The masked man is revealed to be the one controlling the corrupted people. He makes one of the controlled ones take a peek at the monster. Meanwhile, at a safe distance from the monster, a man with a camera is taking a peek at the monster. On a building is a woman with binoculars, looking at the monster. She is reporting to another woman, safe in one of the buildings, and is also using her observation ability to observe the southern wall. Mama can sense that there are people who have ignored the warning and are taking a peek at the monster. She pulls out her scissors and smiles as she says that naughty children should be punished. She uses the scissors, breaking some sort of string. By simply snapping the string in two, the drone watching the scene explodes. The mole with a camera disintegrates. The binoculars of the woman split in two. After a second, even her body split in two, killing her. The woman in the building with observation ability concludes that Luke is fighting an extremely powerful monster. She suddenly feels pain, and then her head gets detached from her body, killing her. Ralph's masked man is confused as to why he can no longer reach any of his puppets. The big-headed man suggests that his distance from the puppets must be just too big. The masked man says that he knows how far he can control puppets, and that he should still be able to control them. He reports that it will take him some time until he can get connected with the puppets again. He also says that he somehow saw a woman smiling just before his connection got severed. The big-headed man accuses him of just being distracted by thinking of women. Ralph does not want to take any chances and orders the two to prepare to leave immediately. Despite his men's protests that they won't get paid, Ralph insists that their mission to attain data from the mental corruption Bob has failed. Ralph reminds them that they have been able to survive for so long because of his instincts. Meanwhile, the distorted monster is slowly eating the original monster. Screams and agony from the original monster's face are visible as he is continuously being eaten. The monster glows, making Luke fear that it is about to explode. Mei tells him that it will be okay. She then separates from her brother and goes in front of the dueling monsters. She distorts her body to give herself multiple arms. She then uses her stretchy arms to bind the psychic monster. Despite the monster glowing more violently, May tells her brother that she is hugging the creature. Luke is disgusted to see his sister looking so deformed. Meanwhile, Ralph and his lieutenants are going down the building they were in by using ropes. The calm Ralph suddenly gets shocked as he senses the presence of Mama and finds it familiar. Gecko measures that the mental power level is rapidly dropping to the point that the mental corruption is almost gone. The analysts tell him that he can now enter the city, so Gecko says he will. Linda tells him to be careful, putting the man in a good mood. The site where the monster was has a huge crater, and Luke is in the middle of it. Gecko sees him, but he is not moving. Gecko slowly tries to touch him with a twig, only for Luke to look at him. Luke asks Gecko to have the support squad come in. Luke is sulking since he knows that HQ will not compensate him for breaking the earpiece and mental energy detector. Gecko asks how the ditch was made, so Luke answers that the monster suddenly exploded like a bomb. Gecko asks with suspicion how he was able to restrict the exploding power to a small radius. Secretly, Luke thinks about how May was amazing in that she wrapped the monster with her body to restrict the explosion. Luke answers Gecko that he simply concentrated all the exploding power together, making Gecko think his answer is way too simple. Luke is starting to think that he is not really as normal as he thinks. His thought of this exists, as Gecko tells him that he gets it. The support team arrives with helicopters. They assist the previously controlled people and tell them that they will get medical treatment for the food poisoning they had. Luke asks Hana if all the problems have been solved. Hana answers that large-scale corruption areas in the second satellite city are now under control and that the cleanup will be easy. Luke wonders if they should really consider the mission a success when so many people died. Hana also reports to him that the situation is most likely connected to the mercenary squad and that they have likely succeeded in their goal. Luke is angered that so many people have to die for their goal and asks how HQ will deal with them. Hana tells him not to worry since she will report all updates to him the moment she gets them. They both agree that someone must be held responsible for the people who died from the chaos. Luke declares that he will do everything he can to capture those responsible. Mama likes his resolve, but reminds him that he needs to come back home quickly, since Baba is extremely angry right now. Hana thanks Luke for protecting everyone. Kuke tells her that he could not have done it without her, making the woman blush. Gecko sees them talking so intimately, making him ask Luke if they always talk like this. Gecko smiles as he tells Luke that he sees nothing wrong with it. It makes Gecko excited as he imagines he and Linda also talking intimately. He puts his arm on Luke's shoulder and says he has a secret to tell him. Later, Gecko and Luke are in a car while it moves. Gecko shares his opinion with Luke that Hana is one of the most beautiful among the analysts. Luke asks him how he found out about this. Gecko switches to talking about Linda and how he has a small question about her that he really wants to know the answer to. Luke asks if he wants to know if Linda has a child. Gecko says he does not care about that and that he really wants to know if Linda really weighs 150 kilograms. Later, the two are at the second satellite city guard post, feeling frustrated at the mundane task of writing their report of the mission. Gecko asks Luke what he will write down on the latter part of the mission. Luke replies that he already told him what happened. Gecko is not so sure about what he said before, but says he will support him. Luke can tell that Gecko is trying to find out how he really dealt with the psychic monster and realizes that he must just be hanging out with him to keep watch on him. May asks Luke if he is planning to go home, but Luke answers that he is afraid to do so because Baba is throwing a tantrum right now. He gives May a handful of candy as a reward for the mission, making the little girl drool. Luke tells Gecko he needs to go home. Gecko suggests he come with him and says he wants to visit his house. Luke says he won't invite him to his house and asks to cover his shift while he goes home. Later, Luke is in a car, being escorted home. May spots someone following them. Luke realizes that the extermination force is having him followed and hates the timing since Baba is in a bad mood right now. He calls Chen and tells her that he is planning to go home now that the situation has been resolved. He reports to her that he is uncomfortable that the extermination force is following him home. Chen tells him she understands. A second later, all the cars following them turn around. Chen tells him that this won't happen again. The woman then shouts at someone to keep their hands steady, making Luke question what is happening to her. Chen tells him that she is undergoing surgery because of the injury she received from the attack. She says she is fine despite her injured intestines and has already used her hypnosis ability on herself, so she won't feel any pain. She warns Luke that people are now scared of him because he dealt with the psychic monster too well, and that the higher-ups had the same reaction when they recruited Dolly, Gecko, and her. Luke says he understands and lets her focus on her surgery. Luke has already left the car, yet one of the extermination forces is still monitoring him. The one monitoring Luke is warned by HQ that the higher-ups have ordered everyone to stop observing Luke, since people tasked with watching over him have already died. They review that the woman with the binoculars and the ability users were the ones who died from mysterious causes. It leads the stalker to agree to leave. Luke is walking up the stairs to his apartment while May sings as she flies. He comments to her sister that her singing is off-key. As they get near their apartment, May clings to her brother out of fear. Luke opens the door to see that everything within their apartment has been destroyed by Baba as he screams that everything is trash. Baba continues to break things and scream that everything is trash. He points at Luke and also tells him that he is also trash for running around like a dog of the extermination force. Mama tells Baba that he needs to calm down and that it is time for them to have a family meeting. Luke tells Baba he feels like he is not doing anything wrong by helping the extermination force since he has a good salary from it and he is making the world a better place. Baba tells him back that all are just his excuses to avoid the fact that he is just being used by the force and that he needs to focus on protecting his family instead. Mama reasons that if the entire world is dead, then there is no one to give their son a salary. Baba is frustrated as he sees that Mama has a point. Mama praises Luke for staying to slay the psychic monster to protect the people despite everyone else running away. Baba interjects that Luke should kill everyone first if he does not want to be killed. May stands up for her brother and tells Baba that Luke is not wrong. This angers Baba, who calls May a brat. Luke tells Baba to stop scaring his little sister. Mama pats May on the head and assures her she thinks the same. Mama refocuses on the men who stole the painting and wonders what their real goal was. She smiles at the thought of going to the outer cities to find out more about the group. Luke sees that everyone has good points. Baba is shocked to see that Luke is agreeing with him. Luke assures them that he came back home for them and to confirm if they support him. They all smile as a family at the thought of looking for the villain group. Meanwhile, Chen has met up with Baji. Chen tells the scientist that there is reason to suspect that the ability users from outside the city may have been after the painting for a long time now. Biha reports to her about his deduction that Ralph is a powerful ability user and has great knowledge of how the satellite city works. Chen worries that they might be tech sect. Baji believes the enemy is not tech sect, since the group would rather plant multiple bombs than just one. He is relieved that no one was affected by the explosion. Chen worries about how Shin has taken action to monitor Luke, and also wants to discuss the mercenary group that entered the city last time. Baji concludes that both the psyche-altered human and the one who attacked them originally came from the same puppet ability user. Baji encourages Chen to take a look at the file regarding what really happened at the Red Moon Orphanage explosion incident. Chen opens up the file with shock. They review that there was a research director who stole a portion of resources and experimental subjects from the Eclipse lab 20 years ago. They named the incident the Escaped Laboratory Incident. While Baji believes there is enough reason to suspect that the mercenary group is connected to the incident, Chen disagrees. Baji says that only Lucy knows what happened 20 years ago. Baji advises Chen to investigate that person and tells her that she must focus on investigating the orphanage most of all. Chen promises to head to the orphanage tomorrow and have a talk with Lucy. Elsewhere, Lucy is by the window, observing the red moon in silence. Chen visits the orphanage. She enters to see that Lucy is surrounded by children who enjoy their teacher's company. Chen introduces herself to Lucy as Luke's colleague. She also tells Lucy that she paid Luke a lot of money because his work is worth it. They head to the teacher's lounge to talk. While there, Chen reads letters the children wrote to Lucy as their teacher and enjoys seeing their ambitious dreams. Lucy tells Chen that she and Lucca grew up in the orphanage together and that he frequently came back to the orphanage and saved it from its financial situation. Chen clarifies that she wants to know more about Luke during his time in the orphanage. Lucy worries Chen is trying to investigate the man. Chen asks her what she and Luke were doing during the big explosion. Lucy suddenly pulls out a gun and points it at her own head as she tells Chen that Luke is a good man who deserves a peaceful life. Chen assures her that she also cherishes Luke's life and will protect it. She says that her purpose for coming was to see if she could trust Luke even more, and now, through Lucy's protectiveness of him, she can. As Chen leaves the room, she promises not to let Luke know that Lucy is hiding a gun. Meanwhile, Luke is in the streets, observing the news, telling the public that the psychic monster incident is only a food poisoning situation. He finds it funny how the extermination force managed to hide the truth from the public. Hana tells Luke that HQ has already put a bounty on Ralph and informed everyone of the man's ability. Luke asks how much the bounty is, and Hana answers that it is over 3 million. Hana goes on about how much Luke will receive for his job of resolving the last mission. Luke tells her that it is not important right now. He says that what he wants right now is to capture the ones causing the problem, and so he wants to request something from HQ. Meanwhile, the higher-ups of the force are having a meeting at the Executive Administrative Bureau. Shin is complaining to the others about how it is a bad idea to let Luke pursue the ability users alone when they still have not uncovered so much about the lone soldier. He suggests to the others sitting at the table that they should question Luke. The head of the bureau, Shenna, asks how much they know of Luke's ability. One higher-up answers that they know very little since no one saw what Luke did to erase the monster's explosion. Chen adds that the man has not broken any guidelines in all of his missions. She suggests they give Luke his time out of the city since they have no means to stop the man if they wanted to anyway. Baji agrees and asks where Luke is right now. Chen calls Luke and recommends that he not leave the city as he requested. She sighs that they already investigated the mercenary group and that they know of at least 3 ability users among them. Chief among them is Ralph, whose ability they deduce might be similar to making doppelgangers or regenerating. She says the second one as a puppet user who can control humans. She says they know the least about the third one, but that they have mental energy levels far beyond regular ability users. She advises Luke not to pursue them since he is only a rookie, and the enemies are extremely dangerous. Luke answers that while he has no experience dealing with ability users, the enemies also have no experience dealing with someone like him. Chen asks why he wants to pursue them so badly. Luke says that his sense of justice means he needs to find those who did wrong and punish them. Luke denies that he is doing this because he has heard of the bounty and that it is because the group has killed so many already. Chen says she can approve the request to leave the city, but he must give a time estimate for how long he will be gone. Luke answers that he will be gone for 10 days. Chen takes it in and says she needs to hang up for now. The higher-ups go on to argue about whether they can let Luke loose outside the city. Baji suggests that they keep any data about Luke highly confidential. He also suggests that they give Luke their support for his request, something that Shin reluctantly agrees to. Luke tells Gecko that he made a request for a business trip outside the city. Gecko thinks he is crazy since he has been outside the city. Chen calls Luke again and tells him to consider the trip outside the city as a special operations mission and that he will have 2 investigative squads and a support squad follow him. Luke tells her she does not need the squads and that he only needs one comrade. As he looks at Gecko, Chen realizes that he wants Gecko as his driver. Luke tells her that Gecko is listening in to their conversation right now. Chen tells Luke to tell Gecko he needs to get ready. Gecko is frustrated at Luke for deciding on something without his consent. Gecko goes on to complain to the phone about how he is being sent on a suicide mission. May asks Luke if she can kill Gecko since he is obviously talking about Luke while on the phone. She also informs her brother that the people on the other side of the phone keep changing, with many of them annoyed at Gecko because of his complaints. Gecko insists to Chen on the other side of the phone that he will not leave the city, no matter what. Chen tells him that she will arrange for him to meet up with Linda after the mission. Gecko suddenly becomes excited with hearts in his eyes. Luke sees that Gecko returned from his phone call with a silly smirk on his face. The blonde man suddenly turns serious and informs Luke that they should hurry with their mission. Gecko makes the excuse that he is only coming with him outside the city because he is worried about him. Luke tells May not to harm Gecko during their trip. Gecko is weirded out that Luke seems to be talking to something invisible. Gecko reviews all the supplies they have in the truck. He praises Chen for going all out with the equipment. Gecko is excited about the truck they are using most of all and lists its high-quality specs. Luke asks Gecko if he needs to call someone before they leave, but the blonde man answers that no one cares about him aside from Linda. Luke says the first thing they have to do is pick up his family from his home. Later, after picking up the family, Gecko is weirded out since Luke tells him that his family is already inside their car. The blonde man does not know what to say, seeing that the back seats are empty. Gecko tries to talk to Mama and Baba and says it is nice to meet them. Mama finds him funny, embarrassing Luke. May is on the truck, screaming with excitement that they are heading out. Gecko guesses that Baba is sitting on the left part of the back seat, while Mama is on the right, and May is in the middle. Luke sees how nervous Gecko is acting, so he can't tell him that Baba is not actually in the car since he does not like boring rides. They review the data about the mercenary squad to try tracking them. They decide that they should head to where the mercenary squad was last seen. Luke is worried that they need to speed up to catch up to the enemies. It only makes Gecko excited to use his spider-class ability to improve his driving. He speeds up the truck to maximum speed. It is so fast that May is left behind and is frustrated as she tries to catch up. Later, they arrive at an abandoned town. They meet up with the investigative squad, who give them the updated information on the mercenary squad. They also report that they have deduced that the enemies are traveling light with only 7 vehicles, according to the tire tracks found. They have no idea where they went, though, making Gecko comment that it is going to be hard to find them. Mama tells them to head left, since she remembers Ralph's face, and can track him because of it. Luke is surprised Mama has this ability. He tells Gecko to turn left onto the small road. Luke and Mama tell their driver where they should go all along the way. 2 hours later, they are still traveling by car. Suddenly, a violent-looking, corrupted human gets in front of the truck. Gecko just runs him over and continues going forward. Luke offers to drive to let Gecko rest. Gecko says he is afraid that if he is not driving, it means he needs to interact with Luke's family. His comment only amuses Mama and May. May suddenly smells something she finds exciting. The others smell it too, but find it disgusting. Mama tells them that they have arrived. Gecko and Luke go outside in the field of grass. Geckos shoot at the grass, thinking the smell is coming from a beast. Glowing eyes appear from the darkness. They discover that the smell is coming from human intestines on the ground and that wolves are surrounding it. Luke and Gecko wonder why there are human intestines and no other body parts. They believe that the puppet ability user must have something to do with it. Luke reviews the research lab's autopsy of the psyche-altered humans and finds that all of the modified humans had their unnecessary organs removed. Luke finds a cloth near the intestines that can only be found in the Great Wall City and concludes that they have found the remains of the 2 missing special ops agents. Gecko is impressed by how good Luke is at deducing what happened. Luke suggests that they bring the remains back to the city. He pulls rank and tells Gecko to pick up the special agents and bring them to their truck. Gecko ends up barfing a lot after following the order, amusing Mama. They continue their drive, with Gecko amazed that Luke found their missing colleagues. Luke says they are also near the mercenary group and asks if there is a gathering point nearby. Gecko checks the map and sees that a place called Blackwater Town is near. He warns Luke that the town is a dangerous place and that they need to prepare for firepower if they are going to enter it. Just to be safe, Gecko says he needs to report that they are entering Blackwater Town. Gecko reports to HQ about how they have found the missing agents and that they are about to enter Blackwater Town under the suspicion that the mercenary group is hiding there. The higher-ups are in a meeting and are talking about how impressed they are that Luke and Gecko have already made so much progress just after leaving the city. They find it odd that Luke is good enough to find not only the missing agents, but also narrow down where the mercenary squad is. Given the location of Blackwater Town, they reason that the mercenary squad went there to resupply. One of the higher-ups concludes that the puppet master's supply of psyche-altered humans must be gone by now and must be resupplying. She believes they have gone to Blackwater for its labor market for this purpose. Shin insists that they need the special ops squad to head to Blackwater immediately as soon as there is a request for help, and that they need to use the long-range plasma weapons. Gecko and Luke head to the outer walls of Blackwater, which look like prison walls with guards. Gecko tells one of the guards that they are forgers who want to rest in town. The guard tells him that they can only bring handguns inside as weapons, and gives him the details of where they can park their truck. Gecko agrees with the conditions and says he will park the truck inside the town. The guards open the gates for them. Luke worries that something might happen to their truck while they leave it parked. Gecko assures him that their truck is too sturdy for anyone to destroy or steal. Mama and May assure Luke that they are close by. Luke and Gecko walk through the town as a man keeps bothering them with offers of giving them whatever they want. Gecko entertains the salesman and asks where they can buy people. The salesman tells them all about the labor market and all the people that can be bought there. As the gang walks away, the salesman smiles, as if knowing there will be trouble. The gang walks into the labor market, which is filled with people looking to buy black market items. The gang looks around and sees people selling weapons, monsters, or human intimacy. Gecko informs Luke that it is part of their rules to notify the mayor of the town if they have found a member of the mercenary group. Gecko says he does not want to do this because the mayor is also known as the Snake Boss, who runs the town with all types of criminal activity, and they don't even know if they can trust the person with their information. Mom goes near the gambling house and informs Luke that the person they are trying to find is inside. They walk inside where many people are gambling on different tables and games. Mom points at a wooden door, so Luke kicks it open. Inside is the masked man from the mercenary group, and he is playing card games with other players, as if nothing shocking had just happened. One of the players is angered by the gang's intrusion and pulls out a gun. Gecko puts a dagger to his neck before the man can move. Despite the commotion, the masked man still puts his deck of cards on the table to continue the game. The masked man then asks who they are. Luke answers to say that they are here to arrest him, and that they want to interrogate him first before they kill him. Luke warns that he should come with them without a fight, since he might lose control and kill him if there were a fight. The masked man smiles as he is intrigued by Luke. Two of the other players of the card game stand up and point their guns at the gang. Gecko shoots at both of them before they can fire, killing them. The masked man uses his puppeteering ability. Gecko is shocked to see that the two men are revived and are pointing their guns at them again. The controlled men fire their guns. Luke dodges every bullet. He reviews that he needs to break the spinal cords of those controlled to stop them. He then rushes towards one of the controls as it fires at him. Luke kicks the gun off its arm, pins the man to the ground, and then bends the body to break its spine. Meanwhile, Gecko kicks the table towards the other controlled, breaking the person's spine too. The masked man is annoyed that his puppets have been dealt with so easily. Gecko shows the masked man that he has an ability restraint collar ready for him. Mama warns Luke that it's not over yet. Luke sees a light glowing inside the puppet he has pinned down. He realizes that there is a bomb inside it. Luke ties the body up until it is a ball, and then kicks it to make it roll elsewhere. It explodes just near all of them. Gecko is shocked that Luke was strong enough to instantly crumple the enemy into a ball. Gecko realizes there might also be a bomb in the other puppet. He pierces the puppet's body with a dagger. He sees inside the bomb, but it has no sign of exploding. One of the card players is shocked by everything that happened, leading Luke to conclude that he was the only non-puppet playing the card game. Luke also sees that the masked man is gone, and concludes that the bomb was only designed to be strong enough for him to escape. Meanwhile, armed men around the market have their attentions on Luke and Gecko. Luke also realizes that Mama disappeared the moment the explosion happened. Luke tells Gecko to explain things to the people while he runs off to pursue the masked man. Gecko is left in the gambling area. He then raises his hands and drops his weapons as the mob of armed men approaches him. As Luke is running, Mama reappears to tell him where the enemy is headed. She asks her son to be careful since the masked men have men with weapons waiting for him. Armed men wait inside the building as one confirms their target has entered. Bullets rain down as the siblings lunge ahead straight through the gunfire. Luke remembers when their mother protected them from an ambush before, but this time, he came prepared. As he continues to dodge swiftly, Red Tuxedo watches from above and remarks that this opponent will not be easy. He smirks, and suddenly Luke's body stiffens as an unseen force takes control of his movements. He identifies the enemy's puppet ability that forces others to imitate movements. As the control tightens, he struggles while calling his sister for help to break free. She floats closer as she comes for his rescue. With this, he gathers his strength and finally breaks free. He then stops a man from firing. Regaining control, he forces the firearm towards the other men as shots explodes to their direction. Moments later, several enemies collapse while he passes calmly among the fallen. Meanwhile, Red Tuxedo starts the engine of his motorcycle. Luke smirks, seeing his distress. The masked man panics when the engine fails to start as the young man approaches rapidly. Realizing escape is impossible, he prepares to use another desperate method. Before he can react, Luke grabs him and stops his escape. He slams the masked man to the ground and pins him down. Pinned down, the masked man tries using mental tendrils to escape his grip. He recognizes the technique and recalls similar psychic powers from the past. Realizing he is in the dire situation, the masked man prepares a desperate final move. He secretly grips his hidden gun and pulls it out from his pocket, screaming for Luke to die. With a crazed grin, he suddenly fires the weapon at close range. However, Luke is more agile as he grabs the gun and twists it away. Red Tuxedo screams as his arm is shattered. Luke coldly warns him that he should not be able to move anymore. He narrows his eyes while studying the masked man. Despite his injuries, the masked man lets out a quiet chuckle. He remarks that the young man does not seem like a typical spider-type ability user. Luke calmly asks where the others are. Red Tuxedo explains the others left after their failed mission because their boss sensed something wrong and ordered them to separate. Luke demands to know where the others fled and warns he will use harsher methods if necessary. The masked man suddenly bursts into loud laughter and removed his mask. Calling him friend, he claims he is being looked down on too much. Seeing his face clearly, Luke realizes this is the masked man's true identity. The man admits defeat but refuses to betray his rules, saying losing his reputation would be worse than death. He reveals that as a puppet ability user, he can control himself and feel no pain even if torn apart. Luke says he will still find a solution to torment him. Suddenly, Mother appears and declares the situation is not over yet. Just then, a large group approaches, surrounding the area with flashlights. Gecko claims he holds an important position in Qing City. Another man confronts Luke and warns that causing trouble in Blackwater Town will have consequences. He insists he holds an important position in Qing City and explains they only came to capture the wanted man who fired first. The man coldly replies that he already knows they came from Qing City and finds it insulting that he didn't let him know his moves. He declares Blackwater Town has its own rules and warns he decides whether outsiders cause trouble. Mother chuckles while the armed men keep their guns raised. Luke remarks that he is not normal. Smiling calmly, he explains they captured the troublemaker already and questions why they still want to interfere. Furious, the man curses him while the surrounding men keep their weapons ready. He suggests he may have accepted something from the fugitive, like a rose, and started to favoring him. He realizes the fugitive used the same rose method that once spread across Qing City. Red Tuxedo watches quietly and realizes this must be the Luke's final move. Some men call him crazy and suggest killing him quickly to end the trouble. Angered by the insult, the man threatens to kill him while Gecko stops him from cursing. He laughs and says he will stop pretending. Suddenly, he erupts with power, startling the armed men around him. He grabs a weapon tightly as the confrontation escalates. He tells the man to let go peacefully, whether he is controlled or truly protecting the fugitive. The man angrily demands who he thinks he is and insists this is their territory. Gecko smirks and asks if they really believe he only has 2 guns. Suddenly, a truck suddenly drives to their direction. stopping them in their tracks. Using a megaphone, Gecko announces they are a special operations squad from the city sent to capture a criminal. He demands they bring someone in charge to negotiate immediately. Several armored vehicles arrive and surround the area as everyone turns toward them. A woman in red heels steps forward while gently holding a sleeping orange cat. The crowd quickly realizes that Viper herself has arrived. Viper calmly orders everyone to lower their weapons, saying the Qing members are not enemies. The armed men hesitate, but follow her order. Gecko greets Viper politely, who asks both sides what situation led to this confrontation. Gecko begins laughing as the discussion starts. Luke apologizes to her, explaining that they avoided alerting the target, admitting they should have informed Qing beforehand. He adds that one of her subordinates is under a strange influence and protecting the person they want to capture, but that can be overlooked for now. A man tells Viper not to believe him. Seeing the man blushing, Luke blurts out that he loves red tuxedo. Viper shows interest and gives an order to test it out. The subordinate immediately obeys and points a gun at Red Tuxedo. The man begs Viper to spare Red while insisting he is actually straight. Viper finds the situation amusing but decides it needs proper investigation. Luke insists they must take the person back and cannot let him approach anyone yet. Viper asks if they can at least explain what the man has done. He claims that it is confidential and requires permission from headquarters. Viper chuckles softly while holding the orange cat in her arms. He notices the cat and casually remarks that it looks very fat. It suddenly hisses angrily at him. Gecko shows an official license and explains they are simply following orders from higher authorities. After hearing this, Viper orders her men to tie up the struggling man. He desperately begs Viper to let the man go and help him. She explains Blackwater Town and Qing rely on each other, so their problems are shared, and apologizes for the trouble. Luke asks to borrow the warehouse briefly, because he needs to question the captive. Viper jokes about torture tools, but he politely refuses and says he is grateful already. Viper reacts in confusion after hearing his response. Red Tuxedo claims torture is useless, because he can disable his sense of pain. Luke answers that he has no intention of using torture. Red Tuxedo asks him, and asks how he plans to interrogate him. He laughs and says he is only an office worker, and quietly calls for his younger sister. May appears behind the captive and eager to start the interrogation. Viper casually asks what she should call him. He introduces himself and says the masked man beside him is Li Shi. While smoking together, he asks if her cigars have gone bad. He heard many rumors about her department before and finally witnessed its reputation today. He admits he was only about 50% confident when confronting Qing earlier. Gecko explains that their squad captain might be able to handle everyone, including her. A man appears and reports that the questioning is done. It is revealed that the vice captain accepted a gold ingot bribe from Red and he claimed he found true love. Viper remarks that since he accepted a bribe he deserves being locked up. Gecko jokingly says Qing City might be perfect for recruiting their talented sisters, leaving Viper unimpressed. He adds that life in the city is lively, and they can take more exciting jobs if they want. He also admits that it is a little too chaotic. Someone asks if what he said earlier through the loudspeaker was really true. She banters with him a bit while dragging her cigar. Just then, a scream echoes through the area, startling everyone nearby. Luke admits that the scream frightened him, which confused Gecko. Luke says they should leave quickly, and asks to keep the captive locked there for now. Viper asks if he trusts him, and the man confirms that he does, but she is hesitant to keep the captive detained since he is abnormal. Red Tuxedo mumbles that all of them are monsters. However, despite this, they assure her that he is perfectly normal. On their way home, Gecko reflects that after seeing the red-haired man's fate, anyone would struggle to stay brave. He teases that he must admire Viper since she even gifted him a motorcycle. Luke explains Viper waived their fine and provided them with other necessities. She also offered future cooperation, but rules prevent him from leaving his contact information. He also apologizes if he seemed harsh earlier, calling him a trusted colleague and friend. Gecko asks whether his family accept their friendship. Mother advises that if he wants friends, he should not reveal everything about himself. Luke then jokes about his ability, and Gecko assures him that he has idea about it. He then asks what he learned from the interrogation in Blackwater Town. He explains the puppet user is Chong, 34, unmarried, with 3 women but no children. 3 years ago, Ralph recruited him, and he now works under the man's mercenary squad. Their group handles assassinations, protection, and retrieval jobs, and recently came to Qing City to retrieve a painting. Their squad has 3 ability users and 4 experienced mercenaries, including Big Head Ghost who caused the Rose incident. He clarifies Ralph did not revive but simply survived until using all his abilities before defeating him. Luke then reveals he successfully discovered Ralph's current location. Luke reveals that Ralph hides whenever his boss encounters danger, and hides in a place called Happy Village. Shocked, the car suddenly accelerates. Gecko asks if that is really the place, feeling incredulous. Luke notices the many skull marks and asks what they mean. Gecko points out it is too dangerous. Happy Village is the most forbidden region, and anyone who go there will immediately go crazy. Mother claims that it must be a great place for vacation, to which May agrees. Luke insists that they still go and capture Ralph, even if the place is forbidden. Gecko tearfully mutters that he is doomed. Under the red moon, their vehicle continues racing toward the dangerous Happy Village. Gecko reports to the headquarters about the pollution incident. Suspect is likely hiding in Happy Village. They continue their mission and read the data they have on the way. The data describes Happy Village as a region causing hallucinations, madness, and disappearances within its distortion field. Gecko asks if he reconsidered, but he says the data is limited and they must investigate personally. They arrive 10 kilometers away from Happy Village and prepares their weapons. Luke tells him not to be scared as plans to go inside by himself. With this, Gecko admits that he is really a chicken. However, he is now an ability user, so he cannot abandon his partner. Luke tells him to just be on watch, since entering the village is too dangerous. He then clarifies that the real danger is something else entirely. Inside a dim room, Baba is devouring food enthusiastically and mutters that he is finally free. He says if Happy Village is truly dangerous, then he will become dangerous as well. He adds that he'll feel guilty if something were to happen to him. Gecko finally agrees and claims that he will just drive and be on watch. The next day, they prepare supplies and decide they cannot drive directly into the village. Luke enters the village and warns them to be careful. It looks like he went alone, but with him are his mother and sister. Gecko caught a sight of them and begins to feel scared. He tries to warn his friend but freezes in fear when he hears a voice behind him. Luke is carrying his sister when suddenly he feels dizzy, confirming that the place is not really normal. As they are walking in a rice field, Luke asks his sister if she is afraid of their father. She argues this isn't true since she plans on making him a toy. They come to a halt and wonder where exactly are they. Based on what they are seeing, they are in some organized fields with eerily hardworking farmers. He approached one of them and asks if they are really in the Happy Village. The woman just continues to stare at him, so then he hands her money to make her talk. However, she still doesn't want to speak, so he tries to retrieve his money, but she refused to return it. After a struggle, he finally got his money back and tells himself that he has to find out the information by himself. He walks around the village and can see its entirety. He comments that it is so quiet and wonders if Ralph is hidden inside one of the houses. Just then, Mother cuts something looming over him, saying that it's dirty. She comments that the Happy Village is better compared to the Blackwater Town. There, people are friendly, and as if on cue, Luke looks up and they are being surrounded. Confused, he wonders why they look so threatening now and gazes at his mother. She denies controlling them, which prompts Luke into thinking deeply. Unable to arrive at a conclusion, he decides to ignore the people and investigate by going house to house. Mother agrees and adds that she saw a house with lights on. Curious, Luke asks which one is it. She admits that she didn't really exactly remember but points at its direction. With this, they proceed to look for the house. Luke observes that May isn't interested on making the hostile people her toys, and she claims that they already are. Mother tells them it is near, but secretly cuts another thread behind her son. Alerted, Luke asks if they can smell something strange. He smells meat, and it reminds him of Ralph. He thinks he must be near when a little boy walks to him and offers him some dates. He thanks him for it and wonders again how he will find Ralph. He then thinks of just burning the houses to force Ralph out of hiding. Just then, the man he is searching for voluntarily shows up before him. Ralph deduces that he has finally found Chong and asks what Luke did to his partner. He answers that he didn't have to do anything and was just sure that he's going to find Ralph. The man laughs, thinking that he discovered the value of the painting. However, he laughs uncontrollably when he found out that the young man is there to make him pay for his sins. He claims that Luke can't do something to him because they are the gods of the Red Moon. Luke instead calls the man lunatic, but his mother warns him to be careful. Just then, several men raise their firearms against him and shoot at him. He borrowed his sister's power and dodges the bullets, telling himself that he can't retreat now. Mama helps him and put up a barrier to protect him from the barrage of bullets. With this, he can focus fully on Ralph and lunges forward the man who is now aiming him with his own weapon. Ralph is taken aback by his speed and wasn't able to block when he digs his hand into his heart. He plucks out the man's heart, but Ralph just smiles and commands his people to stop shooting. He realized he accidentally ripped the man and tried to bring it back. While Luke is in deep thought what would happen next, a tree sprouts from dead Ralph's body. He is shocked that the vines are still alive and they immediately target the villagers. The tentacles encircle around the man's body, who suddenly becomes violent. He tries to attack Luke after seeing him as Ralph wanting to exact revenge. However, he can't risk killing the man since he will multiply endlessly. Just then, the madman points the weapon to himself and ends it after sensing that he can't kill Luke. More villagers come after him, but they all become Ralph's nutrients. He wonders how he will break the process. Mama tells him that he can't rip the tree apart because it will just continue to spread. He wonders what to do and contemplates letting their father take care of everything. He thinks that Baba and Ralph are a perfect match, since they will fight each other to death. He also contemplates on letting his sister make the tree as her snack. However, assessing the situation, it seems like he is the only one who can deal with it. Since Ralph can corrupt everyone around him when he is dead, he wonders why they all seek revenge on him. Mama points out that it's not part of his ability but the price he has to pay. Luke agrees. Since everyone Ralph corrupted becomes a part of him, they have deep hatred on him. Ralph's way of eliminating them is absorbing them, and he shifted their anger on him. E understands this now, but has no idea how their hatred shifted towards him. Just then, Mama cuts something on his back, declaring that she has found it. It is revealed to be Ralph's face growing on his body, which makes the villagers harbor hate on him. The villagers drop their weapons. If it wasn't for Mama's help, he wouldn't escape their hatred. After eating the skin of Ralph's face, the villagers seem to get their revenge. But then, the tree declares that it experienced rapid growth for the first time. It declares that Luke allowed it to complete the 5th pollution group so quickly, making the breached laboratory task completed. Luke is confused, but observes that Ralph's face is almost disappearing. He wonders what could be his third ability, and how it will manifest. A door opens and a person screams that he's not allowed to hurt Ralph. The person smirks at him as he comments on how big his brain is. He then grabs Ralph's neck, as he realizes that Big Brain is the one who distributed roses in Qing City. He then reveals that his sister is already looking for him. With a forceful move, he pulls him out from the tree trunk and declares that he is dead. However, more Ralph is produced which attack him all at once. Without his sister's help, he struggles avoiding the assault and grew more Ralph's face on his body. Ralph's corrupted energy spreads through the villagers, consuming all of them. He declares that he owns everyone's identity, including Luke, who is slowly transforming into him. Worried about him, Mama declares that it is time, and that suppressing Baba more will make him mad even more. If Ralph wants trouble, they should give it. Big Head is confused why his ability didn't work since Luke accepted the dates that came from him. The man didn't follow his order not to hurt Ralph. While reviewing what happened, May suddenly appears, which shocked him. She declares that she will make him her toy and contorts his body to her liking. She consoles him, saying she will protect him from her father while continuing to distort his body. The man screams in pain that echoes throughout the village. Meanwhile, Ralph's real consciousness felt Big Head's defeat. He contemplates to leave before Luke wakes up. However, he seems to have another problem in the presence of Baba. Just then, Luke opens his eyes, unleashing his newfound power. The corruptions wonder how he easily dislodged himself. He calls them trash for being parasites, and starts to rip them apart while using Baba's power. He strikes, bites, and devours. With undeniable power, Luke annihilates the corrupted ones. The villagers stop what they're doing to marvel his power. Even Mama calls him a monster. She looks behind and asks May what she's carrying. The child shows him Big Head's head, which is now her new toy. Mama tells her that she can't have a dirty toy. As they leave it behind, she asks if Luke will change, to which Mama disagrees. Meanwhile, the remaining corrupted villagers discuss running away or uniting to kill Luke. While using Baba's power, he finds it thrilling that his opponent seems immortal, so he can continue to torture them. With this, Ralph's true consciousness attempts to escape. He successfully cut off the linkage and disguised himself while escaping. However, Mama and May stop him from running away. Elsewhere, another corrupted is seemingly waking up from its deep slumber. Mama approaches Ralph in disguise, asking who sent him to investigate the breached laboratory. The man suddenly fires a special bullet that tears through the air toward her at high speed. But it suddenly bounces off as Mama blocks it. She smirks and remarks that he really doesn't want to die peacefully. On the other hand, Baba glows with rage as he shouts that those who escape are even more annoying. The demonic figure roars fiercely while he senses Ralph near. He charges straight ahead, smashing through everything in its path, while flames and debris explode around it. The villagers watch in shock his demonic rampage. Ralph grits his teeth, asking who gave him the Lone Soldier codename. Luke steps forward, while Baba looms behind him and calmly declares that he has caught the man. Ralph quickly realizes the terrifying power before him, but declares that he can't be killed. He explains he chose to hide in this town because the queen has been sleeping here. Several villagers suddenly appear and agree with him. The scene shifts to a distant hill beneath the crimson moon as Ralph declares that they have woken the queen up. Corpses of soldiers are strewn across the ground as he claims his current body is also one of the queen's followers. He wants to escape by borrowing the queen's power, but quietly wonders if it will be possible now. Luke roars in fury as the monster behind him releases a thunderous roar. Ralph stares in disbelief that he is actually challenging the queen. More villagers rush forward, rallying behind their queen who has risen. This is the real danger of the happy town. A queen has been born in the town, and they have reached the point of no return. A dark eye opens slowly as the queen focuses her attention on the intruder, establishing her power. May seems thrilled, while Luke stands firmly beside Mama and May, determined to protect his family. Ralph cannot believe the situation, realizing the monster has reached the second phase and can challenge the queen. The terrifying creature stands before them as tension rises, making everyone wonder if a battle is about to begin. Luke admits the monster before him is the strongest opponent he has faced so far. Even feeling the urge to escape, he clenches his fist and decides to stand with his family. Mama watches silently, a faint smile forming on her lips. He greets the queen, praising her beautiful town. She tells her not to be nervous as they only came to help her son finish some work. She apologizes for entering their place and compliments its beautiful flowers. Luke is surprised that his mother can talk with the queen, who seems grateful to her. Mama suggests planting blue irises among the pink flowers so the field will look less dull. The queen agrees but struggles finding seeds. Luke calls his mom while she replies that she already knows. Mama tells her that separating farmland and flower fields to create beautiful patterns should be exciting. Ralph stares in disbelief, shocked that Mama is communicating with the queen normally. Armed personnel rush through the area while investigators begin examining what happened in the village. Mama apologizes for damaging their things, but says it would be better if they repaired it themselves. Before leaving, she says that if they meet again in the future, she will play with her again. She then departs with her children, who all turn and laugh at the man. Luke says he has something he wants to ask him, but Baba disagrees, intending to kill the man instead. However, Baba reached out to finish the guy. Unfazed, Luke repeats that he has a question for the monster. Enraged, Baba roars that he is nothing but useless, cowardly trash. Mama tells him to go back, but the father refuses. Luke realizes his body is no longer under his control. He wills himself to fight Baba as May expresses concern. Gritting his teeth, he insists he cannot let go and forces his left hand to keep holding on. Mama reminds him that they are a family and that they should help one another, not fight. The queen calls their attention and tells them not to argue in her place. Mama apologizes for the disturbance. Mama points out that others are already laughing at their family. Before leaving, Baba insists the young man is worthless and warns they will regret protecting him. With a dismissive snort, he finally retreats to his dark room. Luke sighs in relief that everything is finally over. Mama thanks the queen and asks her son what they will do next. He explains he wants to bring the culprit back to Qing and return the stolen items. However, the injured man suddenly claims everything they are seeing is actually fake. Mother cuts something in him, and suddenly he can't speak. She tells him that the painting is in his box, and various other information about Luke. She requests that he look at the contents of the box after he reached second phase, or he won't be able to bear it. He wonders what she could mean by this. Since this is the first time she requests something from him, he agrees to do it. In the end, they let May play with Ralph. Later, Luke is carrying the box alone after Mama and May leave in a hurry to check on their father. Just then, Gecko arrives to fetch him. Luke confirms that everything has been taken care of and resolved. Gecko then reports to him that he caught 4 mercenaries while on the lookout. Only one remains alive, and he put the man to sleep inside the vehicle. He asks if he wants to free up the space for his family, but Luke says it is fine. They talk about the mercenaries' loot, which are all dangerous weapons they now carry, which makes Luke panic a little. Gecko adds that he threw their vehicles, but Luke finds this wasteful. Later, uniformed personnel arrive to pick them up. Luke claims that there are 4 abandoned motorcycles nearby and seeks their help to transform them back. Later, they finally meet Chen after officially finishing their mission. He reports the progress of the mission. She asks if he is sure that both ability users are finally dead. After he confirms, she tells him to take a rest since there will be new tasks for him. Gecko enters the scene with the unconscious mercenary and reminds her the matter about Linda. She tells him to wait for 2 days and she'll notify her. Meanwhile, Linda sneezed in her room. She dismissed the 2 boys, telling them that they have 3 days off. In a room with the other leaders, Chen presents the suitcase. She already examined the box and informs them that it contains the painting, information about the mine corruption, and about the breached laboratory. Aside from these, it can also contain information about Luke. They then command to finally open the box. Gecko asks if he is really not going to unwind, warning he might lose control after their stressful journey. He imagines them inside the lively club having the time of their lives. However, Luke refuses and tells him to go enjoy himself alone. As he walks home alone, he reflects on the battles he had. He decides to have dinner with his family first, expecting chaos at home. Hana communicates with him, happy that he is already back. She congratulates him for completing the mission exceptionally well and organizing the task report and payment. He asks her to list the remuneration one by one, because he enjoys hearing it. After a while, their call ends, and he reflects that he earned a lot this time. He walks upstairs toward his home, preparing himself mentally. He arrives outside the apartment and nervously opens the door. He is confused that they're not fighting. He tells them that they could have eaten without him if they are all hungry. Baba tells him to come back earlier if he knows the family is waiting. Luke agrees, and the family start to eat together for dinner. At the same time, elsewhere, a hand prepares to open the sealed box. Several officials gather around, watching closely. Inside the suitcase are several sealed files that were extremely difficult to obtain. Chen identifies the item as the mysterious painting and says she will take it to the Research Institute for further examination. She adds that the files also contain details about the breached laboratory incident. The professor tells her that regardless of what is inside, Luke is one of them now. Chen opens the envelope and seems annoyed with what's inside. She shows them the shred papers inside, much to their surprise. Meanwhile, at home, Mama says they should take more family trips like this next time. She scolds their father for his bad temper, saying it makes everyone nervous. She warns that if he does not change, he may not be included when the whole family goes out together next time. Luke suddenly wonders why his mother's words feel like they were meant specifically for him. His mother smiles and tells him to ask his questions. She knows that he is curious and understands that he wants to know more. She then shows him the gift that she has promised before. She reminds him that he should only open it after he reached second phase. He promises to follow her instructions as she hands him the key and reminds him to keep it safe. The next day, Luke finally finishes writing his report, believing that it is such a detailed summary. He contemplates on visiting the orphanage before going back to doing missions. Just then, his phone suddenly rings. When he answers it, Hana immediately commends his written report. She offers to help polish it before submitting it. He thanks her and she listens as there is something else he needs to discuss. Luke then asks her if she knows about the second phase. Chen reports that Luke asks about the second phase. While it is not a secret, they need to know Luke's true intentions. The officer notes that Luke's report mentioned retrieving items from Happy Village and encountering a mysterious being called the Queen. Professor asks if they have reviewed Gecko's report about the mission. After examining the reports, they conclude that Luke appears to follow the rules carefully, which they consider a reassuring sign. The elder suggests they should not reject the young man and simply follow the standard process and allow him the chance of second phase. Meanwhile, Luke reviews the payment options for the mission and the possibility of becoming a regular member with a promotion. Hannah explains that if treated as a bounty, the mission reward would reach 3 million. Luke hesitates, feeling the pressure of making such an important decision. She proposes splitting the reward between cash and contribution points, which would also help him advance to level 2. Luke thanks Hana for her help. She informs him about the cash he will be receiving. He is stunned by the amount of money he earned. She then begins explaining the concept behind the second phase. Under the influence of the red moon, humans with abnormal mental power become ability users, which marks the first phase. She adds that many people experimented on ability users, and the results were often tragic. Luke asks what happens to ability users who pass the second phase, though a sudden headache strikes him again. Hana says the strengthening method is now mature, but strict rules forbid illegal human experimentation. She adds that only one person has successfully reached the second phase, and reveals that person is Gecko, the most stable ability user they have ever observed. Luke recalls his mother saying that once he reaches the second phase, he can read the documents inside the suitcase. He asks Hana to help submit a request for second phase strengthening. She apologizes and explains that his current level is not high enough to make that request yet. Resolute, he asks if there are any missions he can take right now, and immediately accepts one. A girl named Jonah complains that someone keeps bothering her even when she already has a boyfriend. Her friend casually suggests they drink some alcohol together. Jonah finds her gaze weird, but agrees with her plan. Later, she wakes up while her friend is looming over her. The woman shamelessly praises her beauty, then suggests they bathe together while threatening consequences if she refuses. Jonah screams, trying to fight her. The next day, Jonah goes to a psychiatric counseling center. She tells him that something strange has been targeting her since that day, and that she doesn't meet her best friend again. The doctor dismisses her fears, claiming such anxiety is common for people her age. He reassures her she is simply under stress, and offers to help her recover. He suggests taking her out to dinner, but she firmly refuses. His expression darkens as he repeats the same threatening line about severe consequences for rejecting him. Outside the Qing police station, Luke reflects that Hana is truly a good person after helping him obtain all he needs. A soldier presents a reinforced motorcycle and confirms that it is the transportation he requested. The officer explains the motorcycle was modified by the research department to improve durability and responsiveness. Additional features are introduced, including steel cables for manual control and retraction, along with voice-controlled emergency alerts and GPS. He also adds that a robotic dog is stored inside the metal container on the back and can assist with support tasks. The vehicle was specially designed for spider ability users, and so Luke wonders why Gecko didn't receive one. Hana reveals that Gecko had an awkward moment with the girlfriend of the lead of the new weapon department. He grips the handle and starts the motorcycle as the engine begins to roar. Riding through the city streets, he admits the experience feels good, although it is slightly different from what he expected. Smiling confidently, he decides it is time to head out and begin his mission to hunt ghosts. Meanwhile, frightened Jonah walks through the dark street, wondering what she should do even after the doctor has already changed. Suddenly, a small girl greets her. The child grins ominously and asks her if she understands the consequences of rejecting him. The terrified woman backs away in fear and begs the approaching figures to stay away from her. Surrounded by sinister figures, he declares that she cannot reject him and demands that she submit to him. Overwhelmed with fear, the woman collapses to the ground as he orders her to kneel and beg. Luke steps forward and reassures her that he is there to help. He reaches out and pulls her up from the ground while she nervously asks how he can help her. She tearfully looks up at him as his hand reaches toward her. A man then angrily demands to know what Luke is doing as he steps in front of the frightened woman. Remaining calm, he politely excuses himself while the angry man insists he has a problem. Clinging to him in fear, she insists the man is a ghost and begs desperately to be saved. He gently reassures her not to worry while calmly asking her to step away for a moment, revealing that she's stepping on his ride. Riding through the city, he calmly explains that he needs to find a suitable place to capture the ghost. He adds that he deals with situations like this and warns they must be careful or the ghost might escape. The motorcycle speeds down the street as he awkwardly asks her not to hug him too tightly. While riding, he reviews the mission details, explaining the target is a Spectre class ability user capable of possessing other people. The motorcycle speeds through the city beneath the crimson moon. Later, they stop in front of a brightly lit hotel as he calmly says they have arrived. The woman looks shocked after realizing the place he brought her to is a hotel. He calmly tells her that she now needs to go inside with him. Seeing her hesitation, he shows her his official badge and explains she must act naturally so the target will not become suspicious. She nervously asks if he really knows how to catch ghosts as they walk into the hotel, and he confirms. At the counter, he casually requests one room while joking that if his plan fails, his heart will suffer greatly. As they head upstairs, she noticed him being distracted and checks, but he insists he is fine. Meanwhile, an elderly woman quietly turns at them. Clearly she is not normal. The janitor asks why they are so late. Jonah then realizes that she is the one haunting her. The janitor suddenly becomes hostile and tells him to leave because she has already chosen Jonah as her prey. Luke deems the situation as dangerous since May isn't around, but contemplates on forcefully borrowing her power. He firmly tells the janitor that the woman is not his prey and demands that he stop before things get worse. The janitor mocks them and warns that even powerful people in the city cannot stop her. Suddenly, May shows up but shows jealousy seeing him close to another girl. A small white-haired girl appears and cheerfully calls out to the young man. Enraged, the janitor rushes forward and attacks while shouting that they must be seeking death. Jonah screams as the janitor suddenly swings a weapon toward them. He calmly blocks the attack while May clings to him from behind. The attacker stares in shock as someone coldly calls him disgusting. Startled by the sudden reversal, the janitor stumbles back and nervously apologizes. The ghost possessed another crew, claiming that he is above them. Luke recalls hearing someone say something similar before. The ghost switches body again and possesses the guard. He charges forward while raising his weapon to attack. Luke reacts instantly and grabs the incoming strike before it can land. He firmly holds him back as the lights flicker above. Nearby guests look around, finding it scary. They then all smirk, their eyes glowing red as if being possessed. Gathering her courage, the woman angrily shouts at the ghost and tells him to leave. He quickly pulls her close and tells her to hold tightly as he prepares to face the approaching threat. The sinister men demand he hand the woman over because they control everything in the city. Seeing her terrified, he calmly reassures her that although lunatics exist in this world, there are also people who can protect her. The possessed man sneers in the darkness and declares that the hero is clearly seeking death. One of the men pulls out a gun and coldly declares he will grant the hero's wish for death. Kneeling beside the frightened woman, he asks May to watch over her while he deals with the enemies. He launches forward and strikes the attacker before the man can react. A terrified child cries out and he comes to her rescue. He then addresses the injured man on the floor, asking him to stop since the patrol army has already surrounded the place. Surrounded by patrol soldiers, the ghost who now possessed a red-haired woman mocks him and asks if he really thinks he failed to notice the situation around him. He explains that it is not just this building but the entire surrounding area that has already been surrounded. Realizing that he has no escape, he leaves the body. He orders everyone to stay calm and move away from the woman so the patrol team outside does not open fire. A patrol officer approaches him and anxiously asks what exactly just happened moments ago. Recognizing him from earlier, The officer excitedly asks what he should do to help. Later, the officer orders everyone to spread out as Luke tells Jonah not to feel scared. With a confident smile, he reminds everyone that they are here to protect the people. The woman quietly blushes and admits to herself that he looks incredibly handsome. He then peers outside from the window and notes the situation below has finally stabilized. Through a loudspeaker, the soldiers announce that everyone is now under military control and instruct civilians to cooperate and stay calm. They begin distributing protective helmets and reassure the crowd that everything will soon be under control. A possessed man glares angrily as he realizes that Luke truly insists on opposing him. He states that he only doing his job and has no personal grudge against the man. Analyzing the ability, he deduces the specter can enter someone's body through contact within roughly 10 meters. The ghost snarls that he forced his hand and vows to kill everyone for standing against him. He hurts the man he possessed. He laughs maniacally through another possessed body while raising a sharp weapon toward the crowd. In a sudden, brutal move, the possessed man stabs himself as the body collapses to the ground. Another possessed crew asks if she should eliminate everyone involved. He coldly states the criminal has already broken the law and warns that more deaths will only worsen the consequences. He calls out to his sister and signals her to act immediately. She instantly understands and activates the special restraint device. In a flash, she darts across the room and locks the glowing collar around the possessed neck. Luke then orders everyone else in the room to leave immediately. He reports that the target has been captured and tells the support team they can move in. Since the suppression collars were placed on nearby people and that everyone else has already been moved outside, he has no one to possess but the current one. He asks whether he will surrender or continue fighting, despite having no escape left. Enraged, the ghost declares he will fight until the very end. As dark energy surges around her, the possessed woman unleashes her power while angrily questioning how she was pushed this far. Possessed by rage, the ghost screams that since he was forced into this situation, he will drag Luke to hell with him. Distorted memories flash through the ghost's mind, revealing fragments of the lives he once possessed. Realizing what he is witnessing, Luke declares that the ghost did far more than simply break the law. The monster glares at the hero and growls as it prepares to attack. Realizing it cannot possess the hero's body, the ghost roars that it will simply devour him instead. Since May seems uninterested in fighting the ghost, Luke lunges forward alone. The ghost tries to attack, but he instantly counters, slashing straight through the creature with a precise strike. He lands on his body, completely suppressing the creature. The ghost collapses while screaming as its body continues to disintegrate under his overwhelming power. With no other choice, it possessed the woman again. Seeing her tremble, Luke admits he never wanted to fight, but the ghost was resisting. He then tells the woman to refund his money since he won't be staying at the hotel. Moments later, officers detain the woman as she protests, confused about why she is being arrested. Hannah explains the ghost is likely still hiding deep within the host's consciousness, but once its presence is confirmed, they can force it out. Luke asks what consequences the ghost will face afterward. Hannah replies that the ghost will most likely receive the death penalty. Officers restrain the possessed woman while assuring her she will be safe and compensated after the investigation. After the soldiers thank him, Jonah turns to him and asks for his name. May teases that she likes her brother, but she nervously denies this. Blushing, she asks for his number, wanting to contact him again in the future. He assures her that there will be no problems in the future, and their discussion was cut off by the officers. With the situation settled, Luke prepares to return to the post while the support team handles the compensation report. He speeds away on his motorcycle while May was behind him. Inside the control room, the officials review the incident and conclude that Luke resolved the case in under 2 hours, qualifying him for a B-level rating. They suggest lowering the risk assessment over time and granting him a higher-level mission in the future. Riding through the night, Luke receives a request suited for a Spider-class ability user. Hannah explains the case involves an abnormal incident tied to an entrepreneur, and Gia had requested headquarters assistance after uncovering crucial clues. Reviewing the files, Luke sees several disturbing crimes and realizes the entire situation surrounding the case is extremely chaotic. The drunkard, Gia, possesses third-level special talent and is fully responsible for the investigation, so the analysis team has not received details yet. Gia requested help from Gecko, making Luke wonder why the request was redirected to him. Hannah explains that Gecko dislikes Gia, and so she decides to give the case to Luke. With this, Luke asks if he can get contribution points, to which Hannah agrees. The next day, he arrives at Satellite Town 4's express railway exit and meets with the drunkard investigator, Gia.